Chapter 743, The Eternal Zone Reopens. Chapter 743, The Eternal Zone Reopens. The clansmen from the ancient god clan assembled while the experts and divine realm disciples from all the sects gathered in the void over an ancient forest outside of the Eternal Zone. The three magnates, Cloud Sea Asgard, Immortal Dynasty, and Boundless Demon Sect, also dispatched many experts. Although Cloud Sea Asgard had lost 7 Eternal Realm experts, who were killed by the furious Jian, it had not suffered seriously, as this magnate was full of brilliant experts. 2 Eternal Realm experts had emerged in Cloud Sea Asgard over the past 100 years. One of them was Wu Dao, who had been set up by Jian Wushuang and had to make a great effort to save his life. That narrow escape had probably stimulated his potential, and once he returned to Cloud Sea Asgard, Wu Dao spent 70 years in closed-door cultivation until he made a breakthrough to the Eternal Realm. Now, as a supreme expert in the firmament territory, he looked energetic and confident. Wu Dao, it's your first time going into the inner layer of the Eternal Zone, so you should be careful. Unlike those in the outer layer, the demon gods in the inner layer are more powerful than us. Although they have a limited understanding of the Tao, it's not easy for us to take the baptismal pools from them. You've just reached the Eternal Realm, so you're not strong enough to fight against them. After you arrive there, go to find other elders as soon as possible. If you collaborate to fight them, you might be able to pull it off. A barefoot elder with a tender face and white hair urged Wu Dao, who nodded in agreement and did not dare to disobey his order. The experts from the other sects looked at the barefoot elder with a flicker of terror in their eyes. Eventually, an Eternal Realm expert from the Mortal Dynasty who could not suppress his curiosity asked, "Yun Fan, I didn't expect that you'd personally come here. Are you going to take more baptismal pools for your people?" Yun Fan was the great elder of Cloud Sea Asgard, second only to Xian Yi, who was known as the most powerful Eternal Realm expert in the firmament territory. He was also the only Eternal Realm expert who had become a silver-armored demon god through the demon god baptismal pool. Therefore, there was no need for him to enter the Eternal Zone. Acquiring one more baptismal pool would be useless to him unless he grabbed it for the other experts. Humph, whether I go into the Eternal Zone or not is none of your business. Yun Fan looked around with a frosty expression. Perceiving his sharp eyes, the other experts did not dare to say anything further. In fact, Yun Fan was drowning in conflicting emotions. He was reluctant to enter the Eternal Zone. As the Eternal Realm expert from the Immortal Dynasty said, it was not appealing to him. He had to show up here because of the order of his palace master. Cloud Sea Asgard had lost 7 of their Eternal Realm experts 100 years ago, which was a great loss for the sect. It was nearly impossible for human warriors to change into demon gods by using a baptismal pool, but 3 baptismal pools were enough. So the palace master of Cloud Sea Asgard asked Yun Fan to head to the Eternal Zone and snatch at least 3 baptismal pools to improve the strength of their Eternal Realm experts. A glum elder from the Boundless Demon Sect was inconspicuously standing nearby. He was Chao, who had crazily hunted Jian Wushuang and forced him to escape into the inner layer. And Chao was also terrified of Yun Fan. The old monster actually came. I should be more careful. This brutal and heartless old guy might grab things by any means. The ancient sect had sent 9 Eternal Realm experts here, one more than the last time. Palace Master Destruction was the strongest among the 9 experts. Last time, I was the only one to obtain a baptismal pool, though I failed to change into a demon god. This time, we have to take more pools, Palace Master Destruction said. Okay. His comrades nodded in agreement. Soon after, 2 wormholes, which were respectively connected to the outer and inner layer, appeared in the sky. Upon seeing this, the expert's eyes lit up. "Let's go." "Ha ha, the Eternal Zone. I'm coming. Demon gods, wait for my killing." Numerous Eternal Realm experts instantly stepped into the wormhole, while the Divine Realm disciples glided into the other access to the outer layer. After 100 years, the Eternal Zone had reopened. At the same time, in a white robe, Jian was sitting in a chair on the second floor of the Sword Tower while watching a streak of light float over a long, narrow table next to the wall. 100 years prior, this sword spark seemed faint, as if it would die out at any time. But now it was extremely brilliant and dazzling. 100 years have finally passed, Jian said with a faint smile. It only took him less than 50 years to grow up to be a superior divine realm expert. Now, 100 years have passed. Which level has he reached? Let me have a look. Jian murmured with an enigmatic smile on his face. Chapter 744, Arrival. Chapter 744, Arrival. In the Tianqi Mountains, Guheng looked up to the void over his head, mumbling, "It's almost time. The outsiders are about to arrive." He immediately cried out to his people, "Gu Mian, Gu Wu." 2 clansmen walked over instantly. "You 2 stay with Jian Wushuang. The rest of you scatter and take action separately. Go." Guheng ordered in a resonant tone. Hundreds of 2-star clansmen immediately teamed up in 2s or 3s and glided in all directions. Gu Mian and Gu Wu appeared behind Jian Wushuang. Guheng looked over at Jian Wushuang, saying, "Most of the outsiders will join hands to attack us. You're good, but it's too dangerous to travel alone." Both Gu Mian and Gu Wu are 2-star silver-armored ancient gods. Their powers are not bad, comparable to the human warriors at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. With them following you, they can be your helpers. Jian Wushuang nodded and asked, "What about you?" Guheng smiled and said with confidence, "Of course, I'll travel alone. The outsiders won't threaten me. Even if 4 or 5 outsiders attack me together, I'm able to defeat them by myself." Jian Wushuang shrugged. He had never doubted Guheng's strength. Over the past few years in the ancient god palace, he had fought with Guheng several times and had lost badly each time. "Okay, be careful. Don't underestimate those outsiders. I will leave first. Goodbye." Guheng reminded before he left. Only Jian Wushuang, Gu Mian, and Gu Wu remained standing there. "We should go too," Jian Wushuang said, and then walked away. Gu Mian and Gu Wu looked at each other. Although they were unwilling to follow Jian Wushuang, they had to obey Guheng's order. Not long after the clansmen dispersed, the void above the Tianqi Mountains suddenly shook, and a surge of space waves spread out. "Is it coming?" Jian Wushuang raised his head with a flicker of delight in his eyes. "Master, shall we guard a baptismal pool or travel around to support others?" Gu Mian suddenly asked. Jian Wushuang responded with a smile, "We'll take the second option for sure." The Tianqi Mountains was the main battlefield between the ancient gods and the experts from the Firmament Territory. The mountains stretched for thousands of miles, and the ancient god clan intentionally set 100 baptismal pools in every nook of the mountains to attract experts from the Firmament Territory to compete. The clansmen were scattered all over the mountains. Some of them would choose to guard the baptismal pool, waiting for the arrival of outsiders. The others would travel around to trace the outsiders or support other clansmen who were in fierce fights. In fact, it could be said that the attractive demon god baptismal pool was the bait the ancient god clan put down in order to train their own clansmen. The experts from the Firmament Territory realized it, but the baptismal pool was too irresistible that they would take the bait without hesitation. For the ancient god clan, it would be a great opportunity to fight fiercely with the various experts. After all, they had lived in peace for a long time, so they were raring to fight to the death. The outsiders have just arrived, so they will first get together, then collaborate to grab the baptismal pool. To duel with them, we have to wait for quite a while, Jian said. Right. Jian Wushuang nodded, his heart full of expectation. Just 2 hours later, Buzz, a mighty power was transmitted towards the three of them. That is, Jian Wushuang and his clansmen all raised their heads while seeing strange power waves radiating in all directions. Jian's face darkened and said, "This is an SOS from our clansmen. If I'm right, a baptismal pool is set in there." Gu added, "Oh, they've already started to attack." Jian Wushuang replied, with a glitter of excitement on his face. In the Eternal Zone, it was impossible to use messaging slips. The ancient gods live here all year round and had honed their own way to send messages. The strange power waves that emerged in all directions were distress signals from the clansmen of the ancient god clan. Once an SOS was sent, clansmen within a radius of thousands of miles would sense it. "Let's go! Hurry up!" Jian Wushuang growled. The three of them instantly streaked toward the battlefield. At the same time, Jian Wushuang put on a full-faced silver monster mask. After all, his identity was somewhat special, and it was better not to be recognized by the experts from the firmament territory. He was dressed in a black robe and carrying a long sword. Under the mask, his sharp eyes shone with a flicker of killing intent. The three magnates of the firmament territory, Cloud Sea Asgard, the Immortal Dynasty, and the Boundless Demon Sect. 100 years ago, you compelled me to this misery and forced me to be stuck in this eternal zone. Big Brother Wushuang also died for me. I have remembered all these clearly. Now, it's time for you to pay back. Jian Wushuang was murderous. After a while, the three of them arrived at their destination, where a fierce fight had broken out. A silver-armored ancient god and a copper-armored ancient god were battling with three human experts from the firmament territory. There were 2 men and 1 woman. Jian Wushuang had even met before one of them. "It's him." Jian Wushuang stared at the white-haired elder among the 3 human experts. Although they did not know each other, Jian Wushuang had met this elder 100 years ago before entering the Eternal Zone. This old guy comes from the Immortal Dynasty, so might be the other 2 experts. Thinking of this, an overwhelming killing intent gushed out from his eyes. Chapter 745. I will deal with the 3 guys. Chapter 745. I will deal with the 3 guys. 3 versus 2. No wonder our clansmen can't resist them. Jian and Gu were furious. They were about to make a move, but Jian Wushuang was blocking them. "I'll deal with the 3 guys." Jian Wushuang spoke. "Sir." Jian and Gu looked at the young man in shock. "Just watch," Jian Wushuang replied. He drew his long sword and charged forward. "What should we do?" Jian and Gu looked at each other, debating whether to go or not. They had to obey Jian Wushuang's orders, but they also needed to protect him. "Don't worry," Gu said solemnly. "Jian Wushuang is from the ancient god palace. He should be pretty strong. He wants to fight alone. Let him do it. We only need to ensure his safety." "Okay." Jian nodded. "Let's be prepared. If he's in danger, we'll save him." They had made up their minds. The 3 Eternal Realm experts from the Immortal Dynasty were fighting fiercely with the 2 clansmen from the ancient god clan. The 3 experts were holding all the cards. If they finished the 2 clansmen off, they would take all the pool water from baptismal pool. They noticed that 3 figures were quickly approaching. Although Jian Wushuang and his clansmen were not ancient gods, the three Eternal Realm experts recognized that the newcomers were not experts from the firmament territory. Shit! Demon gods! They're the demon god reinforcements. It hasn't been that long since we launched the attack. They've come so soon. Their faces fell. They knew they would be unable to deal with another 3 demon gods. We have no choice but to retreat, the purple-clothed lady said through gritted teeth. Okay. The other 2 experts nodded in agreement. They were just about to leave. What happened next was totally unexpected. They saw 2 of the demon gods stop suddenly. The other one, wearing a silver mask, dove forward. The attacker did not have a strong aura. 1-star demon god. The 3 Eternal Realm experts were astonished. They were familiar with demon gods. They had learned about their ranking system. In their eyes, a 1-star demon god was only comparable to a divine realm expert. They could not understand why a 1-star demon god would charge out and attack 3 Eternal Realm experts, while the other 2 2-star demon gods stood by. The silver-robed man asked with a frown, "What are the other 2 demon gods doing?" "Whatever. They are courting death. Don't blame us." "Luo Ao, go kill the 1-star demon god," the white-haired elder ordered. "Okay." The silver-robed man nodded and charged forward. He appeared in front of his opponent and thrust at him with his long black spear. Chew! The spear lashed out at an amazing speed, like a viper taking its prey by surprise. It caused a swirl to appear before Jian Wushuang, who immediately sensed a surge of killing power sweeping over. A hint of such power was enough to kill a superior divine realm expert. Upon seeing this, Jian Wushuang showed a frosty smile. Over the past 100 years, I've sparred with numerous ancient gods, including 2-star ancient gods many times, but I've never fought against an Eternal Realm expert. You're the first one. Let me see how powerful you are. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. When the long spear was about to touch his robe, he moved and waved his emperor's sword. The strike looked simple, but it was exquisite indeed. Jian Wushuang had given full play to the Star River secret skill and increased his offensive power by 33 times. Boom! A loud boom rang out just before the long spear was knocked away. Jian Wushuang attacked again, stabbing at his opponent's throat. So fast! Luo Ao paled. He was shocked by the young man's quick reaction. He did not expect that Jian Wushuang would strike back so quickly with such brilliant swordsmanship. Humph! He snorted. A mighty spiritual power gushed out from his body. A huge, powerful palm materialized in front of him, slapping toward Jian Wushuang. Shua! The moment the long sword crashed into the palm of spiritual power, brilliant sword light radiated, causing the giant hand to shatter into pieces. What? Luo Ao was stupefied. This boy is just a 1-star demon god. How could his strength be so amazing? Luo Ao, what are you doing? Kill him. Quick! The white-haired elder shouted. The 3 experts were at a disadvantage now. Although Gu Mian and Gu Wu had not made a move, the 2 demon gods also posed a threat to them, so the outsiders wanted to leave as soon as possible. Bastard! Luo Ao's eyes blazed with anger as he lashed out. Go to hell, boy! A roar reverberated through the area. Demon Heart Spear technique. His long spear shot out, causing a harsh sound of piercing air. Like a huge spiraling awl, it darted violently toward Jian Wushuang. Chapter 746, 6 Steps of the Eternal Realm. Chapter 746, 6 Steps of the Eternal Realm. Oh! Jian Wushuang raised his head and watched the awl draw closer. Faced with this powerful strike, Jian Wushuang just smiled, faintly. He casually brandished his emperor's sword. Luo Ao snarled. His eyes were scarlet. Go to hell. The Demon Heart Spear technique was Luo Ao's trump card. It consisted of 9 moves. Although Luo Ao had only mastered the first 3 moves, the 3 strikes were extremely powerful. But clang, clang, clang. 3 continuous crashes echoed through the sky. Jian Wushuang only took 3 steps back before he regained his balance. Luo Ao was stunned. How is this possible? Normally, even an expert at step 1 of the Eternal Realm would need to use full strength to resist his strongest moves. However, the boy, a 1-star ancient god, had withstood 3 strikes with ease. Is that your best move? Jian Wushuang spoke. Huh. Luo Ao was shocked. He nodded subconsciously. Jian Wushuang sighed. You're too weak. What did you say? Luo Ao's face darkened. A divine realm expert dared to humiliate him, an eternal realm expert. Although he had just reached the eternal realm, he was stronger than ordinary divine realm experts. The secret skill you displayed was good, but your spear principle is poor. You haven't condensed the spear heart, so you can't give full play to this skill. 6 steps of the eternal realm. You might not reach step 1 of the eternal realm, Jian Wushuang said in a flat, toneless voice. Eternal realm experts were considered to be supreme existences in the firmament territory. However, their strength differed. There was a yawning gap between the strongest and the weakest. It was said that Xian was the most powerful eternal realm expert, and all the other eternal realm experts were in awe of him. If an eternal realm expert had a full understanding of the 9 occults of a Tao, he would have an opportunity to break through the eternal realm. In other words, all eternal realm experts had fully comprehended an origin Tao, and even if some of them had mastered more than 1 origin Tao, their strength would not increase. Their battle strength depended on their comprehension of weapon Tao. The eternal realm was comprised of 6 steps. It was equivalent to the 6 levels of weapon Tao. Each level brought a dramatic increase to their strength. Furthermore, it caused their sword or saber techniques to metamorphosize so that their overall strength surged. Jian Wushuang had reached level 2 of Sword Heart, so he was able to make a breakthrough to step 2 of the Eternal Realm. Luo Ao did not possess the Spear Heart, which meant he had not reached step 1 of the Eternal Realm. He was at the bottom of the Eternal Realm experts. I haven't condensed the Spear Heart, but I'm still an Eternal Realm expert, far superior to you at the Divine Realm. Luo Ao was infuriated by Jian Wushuang's words. He attacked again with his long spear. Jian Wushuang looked at his opponent with scorn. Then he made a move. His sword heart shook slightly, activating 10% of its power. Now his strength had reached a new level. Secret skill Twilight. A cold sword light flashed across the sky like a shooting star. Over the last 100 years, Jian Wushuang had made unprecedented progress. He had invented numerous secret skills, such as the Netherworld, which had unmatched offensive power. Twilight targeted speed. It unleashed the fastest strikes among the numerous sword moves that Jian Wushuang had invented. The sword light flashed by ruthlessly. Luo Ao looked ferocious, his eyes blazing with fury. But the next moment, he had no head. The Eternal Realm expert was killed in a single strike. What? Upon seeing this, the other 2 Eternal Realm experts, who were busy fighting the 2 demon gods, were petrified. Gu Mian and Gu Wu also widened their eyes. They could not believe what had just happened. With a look of indifference, Jian Wushuang waved his hand. He took Luo Ao's interspatial ring and then charged toward the other experts. Oh no! Shit! The white-haired elder and purple-clothed lady were terrified. The two demon gods had been difficult to deal with, but now there came another. "Run!" the woman shouted. "I don't believe it," the elder roared. He did not try to escape. Rather, he turned to dive toward Jian Wushuang and slashed at him with his broadsword. Chapter 747, The Mind-Controlling Secret Skill. Chapter 747, The Mind-Controlling Secret Skill. It seemed as if the void had been hacked open, and a raspy, wind-breaking sound broke in. The sound blasted into Jian Wushuang's face, but he stood rooted in place like an unshakable mountain. This guy has already produced his saber heart. He is much more powerful than Luoao, yet he has merely accomplished step 1 of the eternal realm. Jian Wushuang murmured to himself. He hoisted his emperor's sword up in the air, and half of the sword heart power from his sea of consciousness was instantly released. When he killed Luoao, he had only used 1/10 of his sword heart power. But now, he was directly unleashing half of its power. Secret skill, the netherworld. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone. He thrust out his emperor's sword without mercy, casting out his strongest offensive secret skill. Whoosh! A bright sword light shot out. In an instant, the climate changed drastically. The void in his vicinity started to tremble. Boom! A deafening rumble suddenly broke out. The saber that the white-haired elder was holding was also an eternal weapon. He used it to its full capacity. In addition, the move he performed was his strongest saber move. This attack should have been overbearing. However, when it collided with Jian Wushuang's sword light, splat! He spat out a mouthful of blood. He lost his balance and was forced to take a few steps back under the impact of the bombarding power. I'm at step 1 of the eternal realm. How could I, a divine realm expert, get crushed by a demon god? And he hasn't even turned into a demon god. The elder was shocked, unable to believe what had just happened. What the elder did not know was that though Jian Wushuang was merely at the level of divine realm expert, the skill he had practiced was the defiant heavenly creation skill. He had a flawless foundation, and his explosive force was stronger than any divine realm expert of the same rank to begin with. And most importantly, he also practiced the Star River secret skill of the ancient god clan, and had reached the 11th level, so his power amplitude was 33 times higher than most people. As for most experts in the eternal realm, such as the white-haired elder and Luoao, their power amplitude could reach 10 times that of others, at most. Despite the fact that Jian Wushuang was only a divine realm expert, in light of his pure power, he would absolutely not lose to anyone in the eternal realm. He might even overpower them. Besides, Jian Wushuang had already reached level 2 of sword heart cultivation. He had stayed at this level for 20 years, which meant he had long since climbed to the peak of level 2. The only thing he lacked was comprehension of the origin Tao, but he was only a few inches away. The gap was easy to narrow. In other words, putting aside his current swordsmanship and secret skills, his battle strength was at step 2 of the eternal realm. If he went all out and transformed into a gold-armored ancient god, he wouldn't even fear step 3 eternal realm experts. This was the strength Jian Wushuang had attained in the eternal zone through 100 years of earnest cultivation and countless fierce battles. A divine realm expert, without transforming into a gold-armored ancient god, he was already on par with someone at the peak of step 2 of the eternal realm. This was incredible for a human being. However, given that he had practiced the heavenly creation skill, his current phase, the deification realm, was a phase in which his battle strength could be limitless. His battle strength could go completely beyond normal people's expectations. Accordingly, when dealing with the white-haired elder at step 1 of the Eternal Realm, even without employing his full power, he could still butcher him easily with only half of his strength. Run, quickly run! When the purple-clothed lady saw this scenario, she was thunderstruck as well. She let out a series of shouts and fled to the void. Run! The white-haired elder also lost his composure, rushed to escape. Although the strength Jian Wushuang just demonstrated utterly astonished them, they still had some assurance about making a successful flee. After all, though men from the ancient god clan tended to excel at using power and defending themselves, they were not good at moving quickly, and their survival skills were also less brilliant. The two fleeing were both from the eternal realm of the immortal dynasty. Their survival skills were quite good. Actually, there were many experts from various sects in the firmament territory who possessed unique survival skills. Precisely for this reason, the two had dared to step into the eternal zone. Even if they bumped into a demon god that they had no way of defeating, they still had the chance to run away. However, these two had obviously underestimated Jian Wushuang's capabilities. Escape? Can you really escape? Jian Wushuang bellowed. Killing intent was raging in his eyes. If the experts who had broken into the Eternal Zone were from the top sects, perhaps Jian Wushuang would have had mercy and left his opponents a way out. After all, in the battle a century ago, the top sects had not attacked him. If they had not been under the leadership of the three magnates, the whole thing would have been different. As long as I can, I won't let any of the three magnates' men get out of here alive, Jian Wushuang said, fixing his cold eyes on the white-haired elder who had just fought against him. Between the two of you, I can only kill one, and I pick you. Jian Wushuang held out his palm and threw a handprint in the direction of the fleeing elder. A shot of strange energy rose up. Ancient God's secret skill, mind-controlling, buzz, an odd energy flooded out, immediately flinging itself at the elder. As he was running for his life, the elder noticed the weird energy oozing out from Jian Wushuang's body. What the hell? The elder's expression altered slightly. He had no idea what this odd energy was, but it caught up with him in no time and enveloped him completely. The elder turned pale with fright. He attempted to react, but a fit of fierce pain gripped him. This pain was so strong that he could not bear it. He let out an involuntary wail and instantly stopped in his tracks. He stood in the void, his hands clutching his head. His mind stopped working. Of course, the pain he felt only lasted a split second. Soon he regained his senses. He looked up. A jet of chilling sword light was millimeters from his neck. The tip of the sword was sinking into this throat. No. He only had time to let out his last cry before Jian Wushuang chopped his head off, as if cutting a piece of paper. The sharp power concealed in the sword edge penetrated his body and shattered his life core. Once the life core was crushed, even an expert in the eternal realm would die on the spot. With one hand on his emperor's sword, Jian Wushuang watched the already dead elder fall to the ground with a note of aloofness. It's a pity I'm still in a relatively low phase. The mind-controlling secret skill I cast only influenced him for a second. If I was in the same phase as him, his mind might have collapsed directly. Or maybe I would have killed him simply with the mind-controlling secret skill. Chapter 748, An Acquaintance. Chapter 748, An Acquaintance. The mind-controlling secret skill was one of the ancient god clan's top 3 secret skills. It aimed to target the opponent's mind. If one practiced this secret skill to its fullest, he might be able to control others' minds. But apparently, Jian Wushuang's present phase was too low. He had just learned the rudiments of this secret skill. Thus, even though he cast it with all his strength, he could only disrupt the mind of the white-haired elder for a moment. But thanks to this moment, Jian Wushuang had seized the chance and destroyed him for good. Now, he had killed 2 of the 3 eternal realm of Immortal Dynasty experts. Only one had escaped by fluke, the purple-clothed lady. Your Excellency, Gu Mian, Gu Wu, and the 2 clansmen who guarded the baptismal pool approached Jian Wushuang, their faces frightened and awe-stricken. The last time they saw Jian Wushuang, he had only been at the 1-star level. They had taken word of his strength with a grain of salt. Although they knew Jian Wushuang was from the ancient god palace, and Gu Heng had once told them in person that Jian Wushuang's strength was stronger than most of the clansmen, they still found it hard to believe because none of them had ever witnessed his true strength. But now, seeing Jian Wushuang strike with their own eyes, they did not dare to doubt his strength anymore. Oh my God! That outsider was really quite powerful. If it had been me dueling with him, even if I turned into an ancient god and went all out, I could at most suppress his power a bit. But he didn't hold himself together long under Jian Wushuang's attack. And at last he was killed, wasn't he? And Jian Wushuang did all this without transforming into an ancient god, right? Gu Mian and Gu Wu voiced their admiration in hushed tones. They were both 2-star silver-armored ancient gods. Their strength was quite impressive, almost rivaling human combatants at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. Subduing the Elder out in the open would be a piece of cake, but to actually kill him, that would be impossible. But Jian Wushuang had done it without even transforming into an ancient god. Gu Mian, Gu Wu, Jian Wushuang turned to look at them. From now on, the 2 of you can stop following me. You should go on your own adventures. What? Their expressions quickly altered. Gu Heng had ordered them to follow Jian Wushuang for all time. The reason Gu Heng ordered you guys to accompany me was to protect me, Jian Wushuang began. Now, as you witnessed, I am much stronger than you. I can travel in the Tianqi Mountains by myself. If I actually fall into a dangerous situation, you 2 won't be much help. You might even be an extra burden. Gu Mian and Gu Wu exchanged dismal looks, and both gave a wry smile. They knew that he was only telling the truth. Right then, that's settled. I'll take off first, Jian Wushuang said briskly. Then he left. Gu Mian and Gu Wu stood there, watching Jian Wushuang's silhouette fade into the distance. Jian Wushuang was walking alone in the Tianqi Mountains. He suddenly came to a halt and looked back. Seeing that Gu Mian and Gu Wu were not following him, a hearty smile curled on his lips. One day I'll leave the Eternal Zone and go back to the Firmament territory. If these 2 from the ancient god clan keep tailing me, how am I supposed to get out of here? He said, shaking his head. At this precise moment, he sensed something weird and looked out toward the end of the void ahead. A vague black dot appeared. Is someone there? Could it be an ancient god or an expert from the Firmament territory? Jian Wushuang was intrigued. He headed towards the black dot. As he approached the black dot, its true appearance gradually became clear. Is that him? Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly brightened, and a smile spread across his face. This smile was icy cold, as piercing as a blade. He quickly sped up and flew straight towards the black figure. He could see a young man carrying a saber on his back. He was flying slowly, his eyes cold and lofty. His clothes were a bit tattered. His face looked a little glum. It was obvious that he had just had a fierce fight. It was Wu Dao. A century prior, he had been a disciple of the Cloud Sea Asgard. But now he was an elder. Damn demon gods, they are so tough, especially the silver-armored demon gods. Wu Dao cursed through gritted teeth as he flew by himself. He had known perfectly that he had just arrived in the eternal realm and could not face the demon gods on his own. Thus, when he entered the Tianqi Mountains, he had immediately joined 2 other elders of the Cloud Sea Asgard, and they had started the journey together. But the 3 of them had bumped into a group of 4 demon gods, and one of them was a silver-armored demon god. The 2 sides instantly started to fight. Of course, the 3 elders were no match for the demon gods. They had been forced to flee in panic, but each of them had chosen a different way to escape, and this was why Wu Dao was now traveling all alone in this stretch of void. Those demon gods have built-in advantages. If I come across a copper-armored demon god, it will be very difficult to tackle him on my own. If I run into a silver-armored demon god, all I can do is run away, Wu Dao said thoughtfully. Based on my current circumstances, the first thing I should do is go to the contact station and rejoin the other 2 elders. Just when Wu Dao had made up his mind, a figure suddenly emerged in the void just ahead of him. "Is that?" Wu Dao widened his eyes and tried to see what it was. His expression became strange. Demon god, a 1-star demon god, wearing a mask. The 1-star demon god abruptly sped up and hurtled towards him. He noticed that the 1-star demon god's eyes were flickering with a trace of killing intent. "You're just a 1-star demon god. How can you kill me?" "Go to hell." Wu Dao was infuriated. His saber appeared in his hand. Rage and killing intent rose up from his body. He charged directly towards the figure. Holding his sword in one hand, Jian Wushuang made a hacking move. He also performed the coordinated 11th level of the Star River's secret skill to the extreme. The sword heart in his sea of consciousness unleashed half of its power as well. This move seemed casual, but its power was so overwhelming that even a man at step 1 of the eternal realm might not be able to sustain it. Wu Dao also thrust his saber out. He spared no effort in this first strike. A streak of sparkling saber light stretched out. It remained there for a long time before it dispersed. Its power was equally astonishing. "Damn you, demon god bastard! Your essence blood is mine now." Wu Dao's eyes were scarlet. He had a savage look in his face. Soon, the 2 figures confronted each other in the void. Chapter 749, The Scarlet Eye. Chapter 749, The Scarlet Eye. Clank. A thunderous clank sounded. Wu Dao's chilling smile suddenly stiffened. In the next moment, his smile was replaced by shock and consternation. He felt a strong force that he had never experienced before pushing him upwards. The saber in his hand was instantly tossed aside in the air. The horrible force landed on his arms and crushed them inch by inch. Then it spread to his insides. Splat! A stream of blood squirted out from his mouth. His body was thrown backward, like a kite, with its string cut off. His aura began to thin. He's still alive. Jian Wushuang was slightly taken aback. His attack was no less powerful than the one he'd launched at the white-haired elder. The elder had been at step 1 of the eternal realm, but he had been unable to avoid being seriously injured. Wu Dao was way below step 1 of the eternal realm. Normally, this attack should be more than enough to kill him. However, it was evident that in spite of Wu Dao's unprecedented severe injuries, his life core was not shattered. An expert in the eternal realm would not die as long as his life core was intact. Run. Run for it. Soaked in blood, Wu Dao, whose face was too miserable to look at, regained his balance and stood up. Without hesitation, he wheeled around and fled. "You can't escape." Jian Wushuang growled, his face frosty. He started chasing Wu Dao. He was extremely swift, much faster than Wu Dao. Jian Wushuang was not much better than Wu Dao at running, but since Wu Dao was severely injured, there was a serious dent in his speed. "Damn it!" Jian Wushuang was getting closer and closer. Wu Dao's pale face became even more gloomy. I have to make a move. Wu Dao clenched his teeth, and a stream of blood surged up inside his body. The next moment, 17 figures, who looked exactly like Wu Dao, jumped out. A total of 18, Wu Daos appeared before Jian Wushuang. Their appearances and aura were exactly the same. It was impossible to tell them apart with the naked eye. They swiftly fled in different directions. They were extraordinarily fast. This move again. Jian Wushuang's pupils contracted. He was not surprised at all. 100 years ago, Wu Dao had walked into his trap, hunted by a gold-armored ancient god. He had cast the same move in order to run for his life. But back then, he could only conjure 8 doppelgangers. Now, he could produce 17. His chance of survival had increased significantly. All 18 figures are exactly the same. Indeed, I cannot distinguish the true one from the others. As long as his original body is alive, it's useless to kill his doppelgangers. What a smart move. Jian Wushuang nodded. He then tittered. Unfortunately, it's not going to work on me. Jian Wushuang's face was stony, his eyes transfixed upon the 18 Wu Daos who were running away from him frantically. Between his eyebrows, a scarlet mark emerged. It looked like a vertical crack. It was slowly widening. An eerie, blood-red upside down eye suddenly opened. Secret skill, the Scarlet Eye. A jet of blazing blood-red light shot out of the eye and swept across the 18 figures ahead. It was the Scarlet Eye secret skill, one of the ancient god clan's top 3 secret skills. It was devised to penetrate all sorts of illusions. There's his original body. Jian Wushuang targeted one of the figures. He fixed his eyes on Wu Dao's original body. How can it be? Seeing Jian Wushuang go straight for him, without being disturbed by the 17 doppelgangers he conjured, Wu Dao lost his poise. How? How did he see through my original body and doppelgangers? Wu Dao found this utterly inconceivable. A sense of terror came over him. In his entire life, he had only felt this kind of overbearing terror once. It had been during the last fight with Xian Yi. Xian Yi had grabbed him and taken control of his mind. He had been as horror-stricken then as he was now. Today, he was once again gripped by this terror. You have no way to escape. Jian Wushuang's icy voice sounded in Wu Dao's ears. A huge sword shadow hacked down on him. The sword shadow was so dazzling that Wu Dao had to narrow his eyes. He frantically wielded his saber in an attempt to resist the attack. But boom! An explosion erupted. Wu Dao's body plummeted downwards like a meteorite. It landed hard on the ground, producing a huge pit that measured 300 meters across. At the center of the huge pit, Wu Dao's body had almost been blasted into pieces. His life core was also damaged, but it had not shattered yet. Wu Dao just lay there, struggling helplessly to get to his feet. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang zoomed in and looked down at him condescendingly. I assume you guys from the Cloud Sea Asgard have set up secret assembly sites in the Tianqi Mountains. Where are they? Jian Wushuang asked. When experts from assorted sects of the firmament territory entered the Eternal Zone, they often turned up at a certain place in the Tianqi Mountains. Their messaging slips could not function in the Eternal Zone, so the sects circled out secret assembly sites to exchange messages. Humph, you really think I'll tell you? Wu Dao sneered, his eyes already filled with despair. Oh, Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. You think as long as you don't tell me, I can't figure it out. Wu Dao, you just made a breakthrough and reached the Eternal Realm. This is your first time in the Tianqi Mountains. Unlike other experts from the Cloud Sea Asgards who have traveled the Tianqi Mountains several times, You're completely ignorant of the environment and topography of the Tianqi Mountains. So, you must be carrying the map the Cloud Sea Asgard drew for you. The Cloud Sea Asgard's secret assembly sites ought to be marked on the map. Am I right? Jian Wushuang smiled blandly. Wu Dao was thoroughly terrified. How? How do you know this? How come you know my name? You know, I'm from the Cloud Sea Asgard, and you even know I just entered the Eternal Realm? Are you a demon god? No, the demon god clan couldn't have learned these things. Who on earth are you? Lying on his back, Wu Dao barked desperately, staring at Jian Wushuang. Looking down at Wu Dao, Jian Wushuang smirked coldly, slowly took down his mask, and unveiled a handsome but stern face. Chapter 750, Secret Assembly Sites. Chapter 750, Secret Assembly Sites. You're... Wu Dao's eyes widened. He stared unblinkingly at the face before him. He was too familiar with this face. 100 years ago, precisely because of the owner of this face, he had successfully stepped into the Eternal Zone. Jian Wushuang. Wu Dao growled in a note of disbelief. No way, how could it be you? You're supposed to be dead. You should have died a long time ago. How is this possible? How could this be? He was at a total loss. To his shock, this exceptional genius who he thought had already died 100 years ago was reappearing in front of him today. And he had become an incredibly powerful expert. It should be noted that a century earlier, though Jian Wushuang was an exceptional genius, he had been too young to reach any realms beyond the skyscraping realm. At that time, Jian Wushuang might have been able to put up a fight against him by exercising all his skills and means. But over the past 100 years, Wu Dao had gained a remarkable breakthrough. He had entered the Eternal Realm and crossed the threshold of being an expert. Once he stepped into the Eternal Realm, his strength soared. 100 years ago, Wu Dao had been quite confident that he could kill Jian Wushuang with a casual slap. But now, the Jian Wushuang standing before him had cornered him with invincible strength, leaving him not a single chance to fight back. He was too powerful. The strength Jian Wushuang displayed was too powerful. He is already at step 2 of the Eternal Realm, perhaps even higher than that. He is merely a divine realm expert. How could he be so powerful? And it only took him 100 years to achieve this. Wu Dao mumbled to himself, his eyes growing out of focus. Wu Dao, do you still remember when you, Dao Mei, and Long Tao joined hands and attempted to kill me 100 years ago? Jian Wushuang looked down at Wu Dao and asked with cold viciousness. Back then, I was too weak. I had to resort to the power of the demon gods to deal with you guys, mere disciples of divine realm experts. But now it's different. Think about what the 3 magnates, the Cloud Sea Asgard, the Immortal Dynasty, and the Boundless Demon Sect, did to me 100 years ago. Now, I'm going to make them pay for what they did at a cost 10 times, or even 100 times higher. And destroying you is just the start. You're the first. It won't take long before I send more experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard to keep you company in hell. Jian Wushuang shook his hand, and a violent force pressed down on Wu Dao. Wu Dao had long since lost the ability to resist his attacks. He had no choice but to allow this force to destroy him, to crumble his life core and crash his body into dust. Ho! Ho! Wu Dao's eyes were wide open, filled with terror and rage. Blood was trickling down from the corners of his mouth. It was unbelievable that the 3 magnates should have provoked such a dreadful monster in the battle 100 years ago. How much he wished he could tip off the 3 magnates, warning them to dispatch top-ranking experts and do this monster in before he could incur real disasters upon them. However, he had no chance to do so. As death descended upon him, Wu Dao caught a vague sight of the kind of outrageous mayhem Jian Wushuang was about to cause in the Tianqi Mountains and the Firmament territory. In the beginning, Jian Wushuang's battle strength had merely scraped the level of a superior divine realm expert. But now, just 100 years later, he was already in the eternal realm and could kill anyone as easily as slaying a chicken. In another century or 2 centuries or a millennium, what kind of level would he reach? Unfortunately, since message tokens were useless in the Eternal Zone, his words obviously could not be spread. After destroying Wu Dao, Jian Wushuang picked up the interspatial ring that Wu Dao left. His mind racing, he started to rifle through its contents. A moment later, he found what he was looking for. He lifted a hand, and a token appeared in his palm. It was the token carrying the records of a map, the map of the Tianqi Mountains. Just as Jian Wushuang expected, Wu Dao had reached the Eternal Realm not long ago, and this was the first time he had traveled to the Tianqi Mountains. Accordingly, the map he carried was a map of the Tianqi Mountains, on which several of the Cloud Sea Asgard's secret assembly sites were marked out. One of the secret assembly sites lay not far from the region where Jian Wushuang was standing. It was actually in the direction that Wu Dao had been heading. This Wu Dao looked sort of shabby. Apparently, he just went through a huge fight. I suppose he got separated from the other Cloud Sea Asgard experts. If nothing else, he was going to rejoin them at one of the assembly sites. However, halfway through his journey, he happened to bump into me. Jian Wushuang gave a cold laugh. If Wu Dao had been heading for a secret assembly site, that meant other experts were waiting or about to arrive at the assembly site. If Jian Wushuang went there, he was likely to run into other experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. The Cloud Sea Asgard. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining with excitement. He stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Well, since I figured this one out first, I'll make it my first target. After taking a short break, Jian Wushuang set off straight towards the Cloud Sea Asgard's secret assembly site. 2 hours later, he arrived at a very ordinary canyon in the Tianqi Mountains. At first, the canyon had been unnamed, but since the Cloud Sea Asgard had made it one of their secret assembly sites, it was given a name, the Cloud Canyon. Jian Wushuang did not descend down into the canyon directly from the high void. Instead, he strode across a forest and came to stand on the top of a stone wall. He gazed down at the canyon, taking in everything. A black-robed woman was sitting cross-legged on a boulder in the canyon, quietly waiting for someone. She was quite vigilant, casting her eyes on her surroundings from time to time. Jian Wushuang had never met this woman. She was not one of the ones who had entered the Eternal Zone last time. But despite the long distance between them, Jian Wushuang could still feel her rich aura. This told him that she was definitely stronger than Wu Dao. There are many ancient god clansmen in the Tianqi Mountains, and they are all very tough and powerful. If experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard want to take the baptismal pool, they'll have to attack in groups of 3 or 4. Counting this woman and Wu Dao, I've only met 2 of them. So that means there are more experts coming this way, Jian Wushuang muttered. The woman is alone. I should attack her now. Otherwise, once the others arrive, it'll be much harder to kill them all. I'd better kill her first, and then stay in the Cloud Canyon and wait for more stupid hares to crash into a tree stump. His mind made up, Jian Wushuang's emperor sword emerged in his hand. He slinked towards the canyon without making a sound. Chapter 751, Waiting for Hares to Crash into a Tree Stump. Chapter 751, Waiting for Hares to Crash into a Tree Stump. In the canyon, the black-robed woman was sitting cross-legged on a boulder, her eyes continuously sweeping the surroundings in vigilance. Although Jian Wushuang flew to her from behind, When he was still 100 meters away, she had already spotted him. Swish, 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 swish. Jets of aquamarine light suddenly shot out. They were as sharp as spears. At least 10 shot towards Jian Wushuang at the same time. They traveled so fast that he was instantly enveloped in aquamarine light. She, who had had her back to him, turned around abruptly, revealing a grotesque face. A hideous grin was spreading across her ugly face. Which reckless dumbass dares to throw a sneak attack on me? 10 shots of aquamarine light zoomed over. Jian Wushuang's eyes were freezing cold. The Emperor's sword in his hand stabbed forward. Half of the sword heart power was unleashed. Get away from me! A roar sounded. A towering sword shadow wielded in the air and produced several currents of wind, fending off every jet of aquamarine light. Battle strength at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. The woman was startled, but soon a dull black stone staff appeared in her hand. Holding the staff, she gave off an intimidating aura. All of a sudden, she hurled it toward Jian Wushuang. The long staff quickly swelled and grew in midair. In an instant, it was the size of a mountain. It continued to propel toward him. Jian Wushuang did not panic. He pulled out his sword single-handedly. Secret skill, the Netherworld. Jian Wushuang cast his killing move. A thunderous bang sounded. The black-robed woman gave a violent shudder, and then blood spilled from her mouth. I am at the peak of step 1 of the Eternal Realm. If I was seriously wounded by him from only one move, I'm afraid his battle strength is approaching the peak of step 2, she murmured. She quickly turned and fled. A puff of bizarre aquamarine mist rose from her body, and her speed instantly skyrocketed. Secret skill, mind-controlling. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth and performed the mind-controlling secret skill. When he'd thrown this attack on the elder from the Immortal Dynasty, he had frozen on the spot for a second on account of the pain. Now, caught off guard, the black-robed woman also sensed a piercing twinge in her mind, rendering her motionless for a moment. Although this momentary motionlessness was even shorter than that of the elder, Jian Wushuang still seized the opportunity. Secret skill, Twilight. He launched his fastest move with the sword. The sword heart power in his sea of consciousness also released 70% of its power, accelerating the speed of the sword significantly. Then, before she could react, Jian Wushuang finished her off. Yeah. After killing the black-robed woman, Jian Wushuang let out a slight sigh of relief. He turned to look at the dead body at his feet. Most of the experts in the Eternal Realm have a way to escape. If it wasn't for the mind-controlling secret skill, even if I become stronger, it would still be very difficult to kill them. Jian Wushuang said to himself. Being good at escaping was a crucial ability. Experts from the Firmament territory relied on it when they journeyed in the Tianqi Mountains. But unfortunately for them, the target of the mind-controlling secret skill was the mind. This was highly eccentric and always put the enemy off his guard. If Eternal Realm experts were not careful enough, they would easily fall into Jian Wushuang's trap, offering him the chance to launch his fatal attack. With a wave of the hand, the black-robed woman was turned to dust. After burning the corpse and destroying the evidence, Jian Wushuang slinked aside and hid in the canyon. He was waiting for more Cloud Sea Asgard experts to arrive. He did not wait long. In less than half a day, a stocky, muscular elder appeared in the canyon. Jian Wushuang, who was still hiding in the dark, recognized with just one glance that this muscular elder was also from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Without hesitation, he struck out again. This elder was not as strong as the woman he had just murdered. In spite of his unique way of fleeing, Under the impact of Jian Wushuang's mind-controlling secret skill and Scarlet Eye secret skill, it was impossible for him to escape. In the end, he was slaughtered as well. After destroying 3 Eternal Realm experts, Wu Dao, the black-robed woman, and the muscular elder, Jian Wushuang decided to keep hiding in the Cloud Canyon. But apparently, these 2 were the only experts Wu Dao had joined hands with, because Jian Wushuang waited in the canyon for almost another full day, but failed to spot any more. He only saw a few clansmen from the ancient god clan. Seems that the only Cloud Sea Asgard experts around the Cloud Canyon are the 3 of them, he thought. With no more prey to hunt, naturally he chose to leave. He continued his traveling in the Tianqi Mountains. Each time, the Eternal Zone's opening period was only 10 days. Today was already the 3rd day. In the vast void of the Tianqi Mountains, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures swiftly flitted across the void, each of them emitting a rich aura of spiritual power. Obviously, they were desperately running away from something by casting their secret skills to the fullest. An enormous silver figure emerged behind them. It was obviously a silver-armored ancient god. He was sprinting in hot pursuit after the 3. Usually, ancient gods were not good at running fast. However, this silver-armored ancient god was amazingly fast, even a bit faster than the 3 who were fleeing hastily with their secret skills. Nor far behind him were 2 human experts. Bastard! Among the 3 who were fleeing with all their efforts, the one taking the lead was giving off a devastating aura. This man was a palace master from the ancient sect. His name was Destruction. The other 2 were Palace Master Ming Xian and Palace Master Mo Tao. Destruction, we're not quite as fast as him, and we're already performing our secret skills to the fullest. This costs us a great deal of our spiritual power. Soon our spiritual power will be depleted. What should we do? Separate and run in different directions? Palace Master Mo Tao asked. Separate. Palace Master Destruction's eyebrows furrowed in concentration. If we run together, we might all be killed or all survive. If we separate, one of us will definitely die. We will not separate from each other unless there is no other alternative. Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Ming Xian both nodded. If they had to separate and flee on their own, it meant they had no way but to sacrifice one's life in order to save the lives of the other 2. Once they made such a choice, one of them was bound to die. But for now, they were not that desperate. I've sent the emergency signal. I hope experts from our ancient sect can rush here and back us up, otherwise, Palace Master Destruction said. His face was gloomy. That guy is crazy. Mo Tao yelled, fixing his eyes on the silver-armored ancient god, who was hurtling towards them. Chapter 752, Emergency Assistance. Chapter 752, Emergency Assistance. In the Tianqi Mountains. Run for your life. This guy is only a 1-star ancient god. How come his strength is so strong? I'm at step 1 of the Eternal Realm. Why was I subdued by him? Quick, cast your secret skills and run by yourselves. The 4 cast their secret skills and fled in 4 different directions. The ancient gods who had been chasing after them with all their strength quickly gave up the hunt. In terms of escapability, the human experts from the Firmament territory who ventured into the Tianqi Mountains were quite impressive. Your Excellency, several ancient gods were standing respectfully in front of a black-robed, masked figure. They all looked at him in admiration. The black-robed figure with the wicked mask was, of course, Jian Wushuang. A moment ago, he had noticed a fierce fight was happening here, and he had come immediately. Working together with the other ancient gods, they beat the 4 human experts and forced them into fleeing. Among the 4 experts, the most powerful one had a battle strength at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. But Jian Wushuang easily overpowered him by unleashing merely 70% of his sword heart power and employing some of his offensive skills and swordsmanship, causing them to flee in disorder. If Jian Wushuang had performed the mind-controlling secret skill at the least expected moment, he could have caught 1 or 2 out of the 4 experts. However, he chose not to do that. These 4 were not from the 3 magnates, but another top sect. 100 years ago, the 3 magnates had struck against him. As to the other 8 top sects, maybe they had considered taking him on, but none of them actually did. Thus, Jian Wushuang was not so determined to kill experts from the other 8 top sections. The experts of various sects in the Firmament territory are coveting the ancient god's essence blood and baptismal pools. That's why they entered the Eternal Zone and started fighting. But the ancient god clan regards them as objects that they can use to hone their own skills. Further, they even deliberately placed several baptismal pools in the Tianqi Mountains to lure more experts in. No one can tell which of the 2 sides is justified. But given that the experts of the 8 top sects have never pissed me off, I see no reason to put them to death. Jian Wushuang pondered. Just at this moment, a peculiar energy fluctuation suddenly rippled in from afar. This strange energy spread far beyond the normal range, but it went quite furtively and did not cause any racket. Clansmen from the ancient god clan and the experts from other sects did not sense this energy fluctuation. But Jian Wushuang, a disciple of the ancient sect, detected it clearly. That's the ancient sect's emergency signal. His expression altered abruptly. He knew what the emergency signal of the ancient sect was like. Now, he sensed this signal inside the Tianqi Mountains. It meant that the expert who sent this signal was in great danger, or even that he could die at any second. The expert sending the signal was hoping that other experts in the vicinity could go and help him at once. "Your Excellency, what's wrong?" Seeing the sudden change in Jian Wushuang's expression, the clansmen of the ancient god clan wanted to know what was wrong. "You guys go on your adventures, no need to bother about me," Jian Wushuang replied. Then he leaped up and flew out. The clansmen stood gazing at one another. They were clever enough not to try and follow him. "The source of the signal is not too far from here. At the speed I'm going, I can be there in 8 minutes. Jian Wushuang was grim-faced. He was flying towards the source of the signal at top speed. 8 minutes might be a short amount of time, but for real experts, a battle could end in just a second. It was more than enough time to allow 2 sides to fight several rounds. Jian Wushuang was not sure he could get there in time, but thanks to the good luck of the Palace Master Destruction and his lot, the direction they were heading for happened to be the direction Jian Wushuang was coming from. It didn't actually take 8 minutes. It was only a minute before he spotted them running furiously towards him. He also caught sight of the silver-armored ancient god, who was chasing closely behind the Palace Master Destruction. The 3 are Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Ming Xian, and Palace Master Mo Tao. Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. He had been in the ancient sect long enough to know the Palace Master's strength. Among the 12 Palace Masters of the Tao Palace in the ancient sect, Palace Master Destruction was the most powerful one. He had a battle strength at the peak of Step 2 of the Eternal Realm and was even approaching Step 3. As for Palace Master Mo Tao, he was also at Step 2, and the last one, Palace Master Ming Xian, was a bit weak, but he was still at the peak of Step 1. The 3 of them should have been able to handle anything in the Tianqi Mountains, unless they were unfortunate enough to be besieged by a crowd of clansmen from the ancient god clan, or happened to run into Gu Heng, who was also wandering about in the Tianqi Mountains. Even if they met enemies that they could not fight off, they could always escape without effort. But now, even though the three palace masters had joined hands, they were being chased into a tight corner. Helplessly, they had sent the emergency signal. A silver-armored ancient god. Jian Wushuang cast another glance at the silver-armored ancient god, who was following Palace Master Destruction and his lot closely. He was continuously narrowing the distance between them. His size and height were the same as that of a normal silver-armored ancient god from the ancient god clan. But at first glance, Jian Wushuang instantly realized that this silver-armored ancient god was not a member of the ancient god clan. It was a human expert. It was obvious that his aura did not belong to the ancient god clan. And there were two human figures following him at a distance. Jian Wushuang recognized that one of them was from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Cloud Sea Asgard experts dare to hunt down three ancient sect palace masters. Jian Wushuang's face darkened, flames of fury dancing in his eyes. Palace Master Destruction, and the other two who were hastily running away were fuming as well. Yun Fan, the Cloud Sea Asgard, is really going to turn against our ancient sect, isn't it? Palace Master Destruction snarled harshly. The silver-armored ancient god following behind Palace Master Destruction, and his lot was Yun Fan, a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard. He was the only expert in the whole firmament territory who had managed to turn into a silver-armored ancient god. Among all the experts in the eternal realm of the firmament territory, his strength was second only to Xian Yi, and this was widely acknowledged. Humph! When he heard Palace Master Destruction snarl, Yun Fan just let out a snort. He did not slow down at all. 100 years ago, Xian Yi murdered our top 7 experts. Our Palace Master is a bit afraid of Xian Yi and unwilling to go against him. But this doesn't mean the Cloud Sea Asgard has forgotten what your ancient sect did to us. We have no fear of the rest of your experts. If anything, this is all Xian Yi's fault. Yun Fan's complexion was icy cold. Immense killing intent was gushing out of his eyes. The Cloud Sea Asgard was prone to be tough and domineering. But when 7 of their experts in the Eternal Realm were murdered, they had been surprisingly silent. They didn't even file a complaint. This was not their style. But at this moment, the 3 palace masters and Yun Fan all noticed that a mysterious figure had suddenly emerged in the void ahead of them. Chapter 753, An Outburst of the Strongest Battle Strength. Chapter 753, An Outburst of the Strongest Battle Strength. Who's that? A demon god. Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xian caught sight of Jian Wushuang, but they did not stop running. Jian Wushuang was standing motionlessly in the void, staring coldly at Yun Fan, who had transformed into a silver-armored ancient god. Is that Yun Fan, the great elder from the Cloud Sea Asgard? His mind was racing. It is said that, aside from his master, Yun Fan is the most powerful eternal realm expert in the firmament territory. His strength is at least at the peak of Step 3. Perhaps it's already at Step 4. No wonder he has driven Palace Master Destruction, and the other 2 to flee in haste. He is stronger than any of the human eternal realm experts I've met before. Such being the case, Jian Wushuang squinted. A dark golden light flickered in his eyes. He activated his inside bloodline, and his body started to grow at an incredible speed. A 15-meter-high gold-armored ancient god appeared, exuding blazing golden lights. A gold-armored demon god, Palace Master Destruction, and the other 2 were stunned. They had been told that there were only a few gold-armored demon gods in the whole demon god clan, and they were the most powerful of all the demon gods. They had once fought with a gold-armored demon god, so they were perfectly aware of the terrible strength such a creature could possess. Although it seemed that the gold-armored demon god before them was only at the 1-star level, as they watched him turn into a demon god, they still shuddered with fear. He was way too big and strong. He was 15 meters tall. A 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god looked like a small mountain in their eyes. Behind them, the silver-armored demon god Jian had turned into was only 5 meters high. When Jian Wushuang transformed into a gold-armored ancient god, his emperor's sword also grew to 10 meters long. He held the sword in his hand. A majestic aura started to permeate to the surroundings. "Fight!" Jian Wushuang howled. His huge feet strode quickly forward. A series of heavy footsteps sounded. Each step carried enormous power. When he stomped, the void was distorted by his weight. He made one step after another. His aura grew increasingly thicker. The moment Palace Master Destruction and the other two, who were busy escaping at top speed, saw the gold-armored ancient god galloping towards them. Their expressions altered in terror. Palace Master Ming Xian was utterly petrified. What a dreadful, dreadful power! He is only a 1-star demon god, but the pressure he imposes on me is even more unbearable than that of the strongest 2-star, silver-armored demon god I've ever met. What should we do? What should we do now? Palace Master Mo Tao lost his poise and started shouting in panic. Jian, who had turned into a silver-armored demon god, was still chasing after them. And now a horrible gold-armored ancient god had appeared in front of them. Despair. Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Ming Xian were gripped with anguish. "We're screwed," Palace Master Destruction shouted. The 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god arrived in front of them. Shocked and terrified, Palace Master Destruction and the other two forgot to even defend themselves. But in the next second, something astonishing happened. The 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god was very close to them, but he seemed to have no intention of taking them on. He barely looked at them and passed by swiftly. "What? How come?" Their minds went numb for a moment. They had fought against demon gods many times. Whenever demon gods spotted them, they attacked without hesitation. However, this gold-armored demon god had just swept past them without even looking at them. How could that be? What was really going on? In fact, Jian was just as startled. What the hell? His face turned grim. The gold-armored demon god didn't do anything to those three, but is rushing towards me. Is it because I'm a human being transformed into a demon god? This gold-armored demon god hates me for this? Myriads of thoughts popped into Jian's mind, but at this moment he had no time to figure it out, for Jian Wushuang was already in front of him. Secret skill, the Netherworld. Jian Wushuang held the Emperor's sword with both hands. The sword heart was shaking fiercely in his sea of consciousness. He released all of his power. His strength skyrocketed to the extreme. He quickly launched his most formidable secret skill. Jian Wushuang went all out on the first attack. Since his arrival in the Tianqi Mountains, Jian Wushuang had gone through several battles with Eternal Realm experts from various sects in the Firmament territory. But during these fights, he had never fully demonstrated his power. In terms of sword heart power, he always kept a portion of it reserved. And he had never transformed into an ancient god to fight, either. But now he had turned into a gold-armored ancient god and unleashed the full power of his sword heart. Boom! A colossal sword light appeared. When Jian Wushuang put in all his strength, his mighty sword unleashed a stream of force that astounded the world like a starry sword river. Swoosh! The force shot toward Jian, with great momentum. The sky changed color, and everything started to tremble. Although the sword attack had not reached its target yet, its frightening momentum was already whirling about, relentlessly squeezing the air and pressing against the vast earth below. Crack! On the ground below, cracks emerged one after another. Each of them was more than 300 meters in length. Bang! A rumble sounded. The entire earth sank a few meters under the impact of the terrifying momentum. At this point, Palace Master Destruction and the other two had already fled far from the battlefield, and so had the two experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. But despite the distance, they could still feel the horrible power this sword light carried, and they all gasped. As for Yun Fan, he was the one the sword light targeted, so he distinctly felt its dreadful power. His face grew solemn. "You're a gold-armored demon god. So what? You're just a 1-star. I am a 2-star silver demon god." Yun Fan bellowed. He was clenching a black stone staff, which suddenly grew to 3 meters long. It emitted an overbearing aura. As Yun Fan hoisted it up with his both hands, whiffs of world-devastating aura began to converge into it. Secret skill, Heaven Anthem. Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice reverberated throughout the area. The voice was beautiful, but it was also mingled with a trace of sorrow. It sounded like the music of lament. The music kept ringing. A towering stone staff streaked furiously across the sky. It was heading straight for Jian Wushuang. Chapter 754, Yun Fan. Chapter 754, Yun Fan. Yun Fan, who had turned into a silver-armored ancient god, had blue veins bulging out of his skin. This meant he was also pulling out all the stops. The powerful starry sword river finally crashed into the Yun Fan's staff shadow. Bang! A deafening bang sounded. A frightening shockwave spread out and swept across the area with overwhelming momentum. On the ground below, numerous pits appeared. The entire earth started trembling like mad. The sky was falling and the earth was opening up. It looked like doomsday had arrived. The two Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard, who were still quite far from Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan, were also influenced by the shockwave. They let out a muffled yell and quickly retreated in disorder. When they finally came to a halt and regained their balance, they found blood trickling down the corners of their mouths. In the center of the battlefield, the energy collision was still causing explosions. But the fierce collisions only lasted a few minutes before two huge bodies were thrown into the air. Blood spilled from the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth. His 15-meter-long body flew back several thousand meters and then came to a halt. As for Yun Fan, he was not much better off than Jian Wushuang. "I've spared no effort, but still failed to get the upper hand." Jets of dazzling light burst out from Jian Wushuang's eyes. His giant body broke into a run at an amazing speed and charged at Yun Fan again. He laughed heartily. Another round. Yun Fan's face was expressionless. He clutched the black stone staff more tightly and stepped forward. The two crossed swords again. This time, they were in close combat. Jian Wushuang displayed his real swordsmanship. Yun Fan also gave a full play of his staff technique. Clank, 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 boom. Fearful roars could be heard incessantly. Each rumble was thunderous and expansive, spreading in all directions. Though Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xian had long since fled far away, they noticed what was happening behind them. Seeing the horrible power created by the close combat between Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan was extremely nerve-wracking. "How powerful!" Palace Master Ming Xian exclaimed, clasping both hands. "Stop dawdling. Let's get out of here." Palace Master Destruction growled. Yes. Palace Master Ming Xian and Palace Master Mo Tao nodded. They took off. But before they left, Palace Master Destruction cast a significant look at Jian Wushuang. The look was slightly peculiar. Bang! 2 strikes crashed into each other again. He is only a 1-star demon god. How can his battle strength be so overbearing? He didn't even suffer when he crashed into me head-on. Yun Fan thought, his face quite grim. To defeat him, I will have to resort to my trump card. But the most I can do is defeat him. Killing him, I'm afraid, is impossible. Yun Fan grumbled. All of a sudden, he realized that Palace Master Destruction and his lot were already out of his vision. Damn it, they got away. Yun Fan cursed, but he could do nothing about it. The only thing he could blame was his luck. He was just unlucky to come across such a fearful demon god who deliberately picked on him. Let's go. In spite of his defiance, Yun Fan still chose to give up and take off. He had no way of killing Jian Wushuang. Considering the large number of demon gods in the Tianqi Mountains and the commotion he had caused in the fight, there were probably several demon gods in the vicinity already coming this way. He had to leave now. When Yun Fan attempted to leave, Jian Wushuang showed no intention of stopping him. He just watched Yun Fan take his departure. When Yun Fan left, Jian Wushuang's body shrank, and he returned to his human appearance. He put his silver mask on, but you could still see his dismal eyes through the 2 holes in the mask. Yun Fan really is a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard. He is way too strong. I turned into a gold-armored ancient god and gave a full play of my strength. My battle strength must have reached step 4 of the Eternal Realm, and yet I still couldn't finish him. Plus, he's a great elder from the Cloud Sea Asgard. He must have some trump cards or awesome secret skills that he could but didn't use. Jian Wushuang murmured. He knew that to break through any of the 6 steps of the Eternal Realm would require a real metamorphosis of strength. Although the Eternal Realm was divided into 6 steps, most of the Eternal Realm experts in the Firmament territory were stuck at step 1 or step 2. Some experts could not even reach step 1. Only a handful of experts could bring their battle strength to step 3. You could count the Eternal Realm experts who were equipped with a step 3 battle strength on 2 hands. Even if you counted in solitary experts as well, there were still less than 20. As for the number of experts at step 4, it would be even less. Currently, the only Eternal Realm expert who had reached beyond step 4 in the entire Firmament territory was Xian Yi. Yun Fan had the potential to reach step 4, but no one had verified it. After all, ever since he became a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard, people seldom saw him strike. But after this fight, Jian Wushuang was certain that Yun Fan had a battle strength at step 4. He used a long staff as his weapon, and he also produced the staff heart. Like my sword heart, his staff heart is also at the peak of level 2. However, he can turn into a silver-armored ancient god. Once he transformed, his strength soared up, which could probably match someone at the peak of step 3. In addition, he has practiced the Star River Secret skill. He had clearly sensed the power of the Star River Secret skill Yun Fan cast. Level 5. His Star River Secret skill has already reached level 5. He can unleash an offensive power 15 times more than his original power, which is 5 times stronger than normal Eternal Realm experts. In light of this sole advantage, I'm sure his battle strength has already passed step 3 of the Eternal Realm and entered step 4. If he also uses one of his trump cards or another secret skill, he can never lose to other experts at step 4. As for Jian Wushuang, when he was not an ancient god, his battle strength was at the peak of step 2. But once he transformed into an ancient god, It should be noted that he was a gold-armored ancient god with part of the imperial bloodline, much tougher than the silver-armored ancient god Yun Fan could turn into. When he assumed the form of an ancient god, his battle strength could reach step 4 as well. My overall strength is very close to his. If we actually get into a life or death battle, the result will likely depend on whose trump cards are more imposing. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, eyes glinting. He had been holding a grudge against the 3 magnates for a long time. Among the 3 magnates, the one he resented most was the Boundless Demon Sect. After all, it was an expert from the Boundless Demon Sect that had incurred the death of Wushuang. Nevertheless, the one he favored least was the Cloud Sea Asgard. Now that Yun Fan was a great elder, if Jian Wushuang could murder him, it would certainly be a huge blow to the Cloud Sea Asgard. Chapter 755, The Revenge of the Cloud Sea Asgard. Chapter 755, The Revenge of the Cloud Sea Asgard. When Jian Wushuang blocked Yun Fan, Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xian had seized the opportunity and fled without stopping. A series of blasts had sounded from behind, keeping them in constant terror. They did not breathe a sigh of relief until they had escaped far from the battlefield and met Baiyu and Lingyu, who had also detected the emergency signal and hurried to help. On a rather deserted hill, the 5 eternal realm experts of the ancient sect gathered together. Destruction, what on earth happened? What made you send the emergency signal? Palace Master Destruction's face went somber. It was because of Yun Fan. Yun Fan. Baiyu and Lingyu were both taken aback. At first, the 3 of us were pretty lucky. We snatched up a baptismal pool from the demon gods. But as soon as we got it, we bumped into Yun Fan, who happened to be passing by, and 2 other experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Palace Master Destruction started to recount the whole story. They're all human beings, as we are. So even though Yun Fan felt jealous about us obtaining the baptismal pool, he should have restrained his temper a bit. But to our surprise, the old bastard launched a direct strike against us. At this point, Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xian looked highly infuriated. The 3 of us naturally found this outrageous and tried our best to fight back. But Yun Fan has concealed his strength for so many years. He must have brought his strength to a higher level in secret. By my calculation, his present battle strength rivals someone at step 4 of the Eternal Realm, Palace Master Destruction said. Step 4. Baiyu and Lingyu were shocked. He turned into a silver-armored demon god and totally subdued us all by himself. Palace Master Destruction went on. We could only flee in a haste, but he didn't give up and kept chasing after us. We thought he was coming for the baptismal pool. Since he was so desperate to get the thing, to save our lives, I proposed that he could have the baptismal pool in exchange for our safety. But to everyone's shock, he refused. Refused? Palace Master Baiyu's expression altered. You promised him the baptismal pool of the demon gods. How could he turn you down? Who knows? Destruction shook his head. That guy was crazy. He just wanted the 3 of us dead. Palace Master Mo Tao cursed under his breath. We were being chased and were running out of solutions. So we had to send the emergency signal and ask for help. Palace Master Destruction said helplessly. When he finished, Palace Master Baiyu and Vice Palace Master Ling, you both turned quite solemn. The 3 had been willing to give him the baptismal pool of demon gods, yet he still didn't let them off the hook. It seemed that he was really going to kill Palace Master Destruction and the other 2. We then asked ourselves whether Yun Fan held some personal grudge against us. Judging by his behavior, it's obvious that he wants to have a go at our ancient sect. If nothing else, I reckon it's because 100 years ago Palace Master Jian killed 7 Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. I bet that ever since, the Cloud Sea Asgard has been bearing a grudge against our ancient sect. And this was why Wushuang vented his anger on us. What a jerk. Isn't he afraid of provoking the entire ancient sect? Baiyu swore. No, he isn't. Vice Palace Master Ling, you suddenly spoke. Palace Master Destruction, and the other two immediately turned to look at him. Ling Yu continued with a note of seriousness. Everybody, as you know, although our ancient sect is a very special sect in the firmament territory, sometimes we still have to look out for the 3 magnates. To be honest, the overall strength of our ancient sect is not that remarkable, nor is our history or foundation. All we have are our sect master and palace master Jian. Now, in terms of the 3 magnates, the strength of any of them is way above our ancient sect. They have no fear for our ancient sect or our eternal realm experts. They really only care about our sect master and palace master Jian. However, our sect master always acts in secret. It's been years since he revealed himself before us. We don't even know if he is still in the firmament territory or not. As for Palace Master Jian, well, you all know his temper. He has his own style. As long as others don't offend him to an unbearable extent, such as killing his top disciples, his close relatives, or putting the ancient sect in a life-threatening crisis, he won't strike back. Precisely for this reason, Yunfan has no scruples in attacking you guys. 100 years ago, it was Palace Master Jian who killed 7 Eternal Realm experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard, causing them to suffer a great loss. But they don't dare get back at Palace Master Jian, so they can only attack our experts as revenge. After hearing Vice Palace Master Ling Yu out, Palace Master Destruction, and his lot nodded in agreement. They all sincerely approved of what Vice Palace Master Ling Yu had just said. Indeed, the only ones in the ancient sect that could really frighten the 3 magnates were their sect master, who was titled as the top expert in the firmament territory, and Palace Master Jian, who was famous for his mysterious but formidable power. Other than these 2, the 3 magnates never took other experts seriously. Accordingly, it was only normal for the 3 magnates to retaliate against them instead of Jian. Seems that in the next few days we have to be more cautious, Palace Master Destruction exclaimed. The other Palace Masters nodded in agreement. By the way, Destruction, Palace Master Baiyu looked back. You said you were in such a dangerous situation, but how on earth did you escape from Yunfan? The 3 Palace Masters exchanged embarrassed looks. Their expressions became a bit odd. Here's the thing. Palace Master Destruction started to explain. When we were running away, we came across a gold-armored demon god with horrible strength. This gold-armored demon god was only at the 1-star level, but his battle strength was just as great as Yunfan's. And the most important thing is that he showed no interest in us at all. No interest? Palace Master Baiyu was a bit startled. Yes, he was not interested. Palace Master Ming Xian nodded as well. He was right in front of us. But when he came near, he just went past, didn't even shoot a glance at us. He didn't attack, either. Instead, he got into a fight with Yunfan. Thanks to him barring Yunfan's way, we finally got a chance to run away. Really? The other 2 Palace Masters found this a bit fishy. How could a demon god have no interest in the 3 experts? Actually, there is another thing. Palace Master Destruction spoke suddenly. His brows furrowed slightly. What is it? The other Palace Masters all turned to look at him. When the gold-armored demon god was battling with Yunfan, I observed the sword he was using. The sword appeared to be the Emperor's sword. Palace Master Destruction grunted. What? Palace Master Mo Tao, Palace Master Bayu, and the rest were all astonished at these words. The Emperor's sword, the one Palace Master Jian he had made, the one that belonged to the successor of the Sword Palace. Chapter 756, A Reunion. Chapter 756, A Reunion. Destruction, did you see it clearly? Palace Master Mo Tao asked anxiously. They had been in a rush. He and Palace Master Ming Xian had not even cast a proper glance at the longsword Jian Wushuang was wielding. Only Palace Master Destruction saw it. The sword in the gold-armored demon god's hand was enlarged several times, but I still recognized it. I'm sure it was the Emperor's sword. Palace Master Destruction nodded again to confirm his judgment, whetting the curiosity of the ancient sect's other palace masters. For all time, the Emperor's sword was supposed to be in Jian Wushuang's hands, wasn't it? 100 years ago, Jian Wushuang had gotten caught up in a serious crisis in the Eternal Zone and never walked out of it. He had probably died long ago. As for the Emperor's sword, it had likely fallen into the hands of the demon gods. They would not be surprised at all to see a demon god carrying the Emperor's sword show up to kill them. But the gold-armored demon god they'd just met had not intended to attack them, considering that he was only a one-star demon god, but was carrying the Emperor's sword. They could not help but feel very skeptical about the whole thing. Guys, tell me, do you think the gold-armored demon god we met could possibly be Palace Master Destruction? Broke off. The other 4 palace masters also fell into silence. At this precise moment, a swoosh of wind sounded, and a figure suddenly appeared before them. Who's there? Palace Master Destruction, and the other 4 instantly swiveled around to look at the figure. When they caught a clear sight him, the palace masters were all dumbstruck. The black-robed figure, carrying a long sword on his back and wearing a wicked silver mask, was the same gold-armored demon god that had just gotten rid of Yun Fan for them. He slowly took off his wicked mask. Then his voice sounded, reverberating in the mountainous space. It's been 100 years since we last met. Palace Masters, I hope that you are all well. Jian Wushuang's voice held a trace of sorrow, whereas a smile was curling along his lips. After getting rid of Yun Fan, he had set off in the direction of Palace Master Destruction and the others. Sure enough, he had caught up with them and saw the 5 palace masters of the ancient sect assembled here. When the 5 palace masters recognized Jian Wushuang's face, they were stunned and soon overjoyed. Jian Wushuang, is it really you? You didn't die? The 5 palace masters quickly approached him and blurted out their amazement at the same time. They were shocked, thrilled, and apparently blown away by this rather unbelievable miracle. When Jian Wushuang did not walk out of the Eternal Zone 100 years ago, almost everyone thought he was dead. The experts of the ancient sects also believed he had met his downfall. But now, here he was standing before them unscathed. I have a tough fate. How could I die so easily? Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. This is utterly unbelievable. Jian Wushuang, how did you survive? They stepped forward and sized him up with intense curiosity. Human experts from the Firmament territory often got involved in fights against demon gods, so the demon god clan hated them bitterly. But it turned out that a total of 100 years had passed. Jian Wushuang turned out to be fine after staying 100 years in the demon god clan. I'm just lucky, Jian Wushuang explained half-heartedly. After exchanging short greetings, the 5 palace masters gradually calmed down. Jian Wushuang, quickly tell us what really happened. You didn't die 100 years ago. Why didn't you get out of the Eternal Zone in time? Palace Master Destruction posed several questions in one breath. Here is my story. Jian Wushuang gave them a summarized version of what had happened 100 years ago. He told them how the disciples from the cloud sea Asgard and the immortal dynasty attacked him, and how the boundless demon sect dispatched an eternal realm expert who chased him to the outer layer. Of course, he said nothing about the ancient god clan arresting Wu Dao, Dao Mei, and Long Tao by luring them into a trap. No wonder you didn't return in time. It turns out you were being hunted by an eternal realm expert from the boundless demon sect, and were forced to flee to the inner layer. Palace Master Destruction scowled. Then he let out a snort. Humph! How ruthless the boundless demon sect is. They not only send out their disciples to strike, but also dispatched an eternal realm elder to turn around and assassinate you, a nobody in the skyscraping realm? The boundless demon sect is truly vicious. The boundless demon sect is treacherous and despicable, and the cloud sea Asgard and the immortal dynasty are not good guys either. Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Bayu echoed his comments. Thanks to my luck, I narrowly escaped from the boundless demon sect expert, but due to my severe injuries, I failed to get back in time. And during the past 100 years, I stayed in the Eternal Zone. For a few special reasons, the Demon God clan did not go hard on me. In fact, they treated me fairly well, Jian Wushuang said. He merely told them it was for special reasons, but did not elaborate further. Palace Master Destruction and the other Palace Masters were eloquent enough to not insist on poking into this matter. Right then, no matter what you've been through in the past 100 years, it's enough that you're still alive. When your Master Xian hears about this, he will certainly be very glad, Palace Master Destruction said, beaming. Yeah, 100 years ago, Palace Master Xian, he was furious at the news of your death. In front of all the experts of various sects, he directly launched an open attack against the cloud sea Asgard and killed 7 of their eternal realm experts. It really devastated them. Palace Master Mo Tao laughed, but precisely for this incident, the cloud sea Asgard began to hold a grudge against our ancient sect. And this is exactly why the 3 of us were being chased just now. Really? His words stirred something in Jian Wushuang's mind. His master, Xian Yi, had slaughtered 7 eternal realm experts from the cloud sea Asgard to vent his rage when he heard of his death. Besides that, Jian Wushuang, your strength truly surprised us, Palace Master Destruction added. Mo Tao, Ming Xin, and the other palace masters all gazed at each other speechlessly. They smiled, but their eyes revealed a trace of terror. Especially Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao, and Palace Master Ming Xin. After all, they had witnessed the fierce fight between Jian Wushuang and Yun Fan with their own eyes. Jian Wushuang could turn into a gold-armored demon god, and he was thoroughly qualified to battle with Yun Fan head-on. It was evident that his strength had reached step 4 of the Eternal Realm. That was to say, his strength was much stronger than any of theirs, and Jian Wushuang was still a divine realm expert. For people in the Firmament territory, it was completely inconceivable that a divine realm expert could have a battle strength at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. They had never heard of the existence of such a formidable divine realm expert within the Firmament territory. Chapter 757, Traces. Chapter 757, Traces. On a nameless hill in the Tianqi Mountains, Jian Wushuang and 5 palace masters of the ancient sect were chatting. Jian Wushuang, I'm so happy to see you alive, Palace Master Destruction said. In a few days, the Eternal Zone will close again. Please leave with us before that happens. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded. Well, what's your plan for the next couple of days? Do you want to travel with us or go by yourself? Palace Master Destruction asked another question. I still have some things to take care of, so I may not be able to join you this time, Jian Wushuang answered. Are you going to deal with the three magnates? Palace Master Destruction cast a significant look at him. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. With your current strength, experts from the three magnates in the Tianqi Mountains are hardly a threat to you. But you still need to be careful, Palace Master Destruction advised. I know. He gave a smile. By the way, is there any chance you know who the Eternal Realm expert from the Boundless Demon sect that hunted me down was? Jian Wushuang had not forgotten Gu Qiong, to whom he owed a lot. Gu Qiong had died for him. His death had become a thorn growing in Jian Wushuang's heart. He was absolutely determined to kill the Eternal Realm expert who had chased after him back then. Judging by his appearance, strength, and the attack style that you just described, I reckon it was in Chao. Palace Master Destruction said solemnly. And Chao. Jian Wushuang memorized this name by heart. Speaking of En Chao, the expressions of Palace Master Baiyu and Vice Palace Master Ling, you suddenly turned weird. What's the matter? Jian Wushuang looked at them. Jian Wushuang, frankly, not long ago, when Ling Yu and I were adventuring in the Tianqi Mountains, we ran into En Chao, Palace Master Baiyu began. Really? Jian Wushuang's face altered. The place we met him is not far from here. When we saw him, he was with three guys, all experts from the Boundless Demon sect. One of them was Xia Yuan. Palace Master Baiyu said, Xia Yuan. Jian Wushuang repeated, staring at Palace Master Baiyu in bewilderment. Xia Yuan is extremely strong. He is at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. A few days ago, he usurped a baptismal pool and successfully used it to transform into a copper-armored demon god. When he assumes the form of a copper-armored demon god, his battle strength will reach step 3 of the Eternal Realm, Palace Master Baiyu said. An Eternal Realm expert with a battle strength at step 3 of the Eternal Realm could be counted as the strongest expert in the Firmament territory. Among the Palace Masters of the Ancient Sect, only Palace Master Destruction had a viable chance of putting up a fight against him. The 4 of them must be traveling as a group. I'm afraid that they are still wandering about in that area, Palace Master Baiyu added. Jian Wushuang simply took out the map of the Tianqi Mountains. Palace Master Baiyu, where did you meet them? He asked. Palace Master Baiyu quickly looked through the map and pointed a finger at a giant mountain. Here, near the Icefire Mountain. Here. Jian Wushuang tilted his head a little. Thanks a lot. Jian Wushuang put the map away. He cupped his hands at Palace Master Destruction and the other 4. He was ready to leave. Jian Wushuang, remember, in 7 days, you have to hurry to the Heavenly Stone Valley and find our ancient sect's assembly place. If you miss this chance, you can only stay in the Eternal Zone for another 100 years, Palace Master Destruction yelled. Got it, Jian Wushuang shouted back. He was already flying away. On the hill, Palace Master Destruction, and the other 4 were standing in a line. They watched Jian Wushuang gradually fly out of sight, and then heaved a sigh. The kid has upgraded his strength to such a level in merely 100 years. Even we can't catch up with him now. I always knew he was very talented, but I never expected him to be so powerful. Destruction. Over the past 100 years, you've been bragging about Feng, your personal disciple, showing him off like a star, right? You also said that in less than 1,000 years, Feng could enter the Eternal Realm, right? How about you let this disciple have a fight against Jian Wushuang, and we can see who is better? Palace Master Mo Tao said jokingly. Fight? What for? Palace Master Destruction breathed a puff of air into his beard, his face thoroughly bitter. Feng, whether he could break through the eternal realm was still unknown. Even if he did, there was no way he could be more powerful than Jian Wushuang, could he? Following Palace Master Bayu's directions, Jian Wushuang headed for the Icefire Mountain. It took him less than half a day to reach the foot of the Icefire Mountain. I wonder if Chao and his lot are still around, Jian Wushuang muttered. He began to loaf about in the vast region around the Icefire Mountain. Only 2 hours later, he detected the emergency signal of the ancient god clan. He rushed there as fast as he could. However, since the source of the signal was quite far, by the time he got there, the fight was already over. The water in a baptismal pool had been taken by someone. The 2 ancient god clansmen responsible for guarding the baptismal pool were both severely injured. Thanks to the timely arrival of other clansmen, they had not been killed. Jian Wushuang inquired about the human experts who attacked them. The answers they gave were exactly what Jian Wushuang wanted to hear. According to the account of the 2 injured clansmen, 4 human experts had attacked them, one of whom transformed into a copper-armored ancient god. There was also a glum elder in their group who was supposed to be in Chao. Seems that the 4 from the Boundless Demon sect are still around. Jian Wushuang squinted into the surroundings and muttered, "There are 6 baptismal pools in the vicinity of the Icefire Mountain. They've already robbed one of them. They must be biding their time to rob the rest." Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. Once the Boundless Demon sect experts struck again, his opportunity would come. Jian Wushuang continued to wander around the Icefire Mountain, waiting for the 4 Boundless Demon sect experts to strike again. Meanwhile, on the bank of a small nameless lake near the Icefire Mountain, 4 figures were sitting together. "Haha, following Mr. Xia Yuan is great. Look, we obtained a baptismal pool without effort." And Chao, a glum black-robed elder, said with a chilling voice, "Well, it's just a baptismal pool, not a big deal." A strapping, shirtless man snorted. This was Xia Yuan, the most powerful among the group of 4. And Chao gave a dry smile and did not dare to say more. Xia Yuan looked around. "We investigated before. There are 6 baptismal pools at the Icefire Mountain. We only have 1. It's nothing to brag about. If we can obtain all 6 baptismal pools, that will be something. And our next target is this one." Chapter 758, Returning of Favor. Chapter 758, Returning of Favor. Next to a baptismal pool, near the Icefire Mountain in the Tianqi Mountains, 2 imposing figures were standing quietly. They kept casting nervous looks at their surroundings. In the void, not far from the baptismal pool, a group of 4 people gathered together. They were from the Boundless Demon sect and led by Xia Yuan. They were overlooking the distant baptismal pool through the void. "We've scouted out the baptismal pool. 2 demon gods are guarding it. Both of them are 2-star silver-armored demon gods, and their battle strength rivals experts at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. One of them, in particular, carries a longbow on his back. He is a very good archer," Xia Yuan said in a deep voice. "Well, I can handle the demon god with the longbow. Kang Jing, the other demon god, is yours. It'll do if you just hold him back. Can you do that?" Xia Yuan asked the man standing beside him. "No problem." Kang Jing nodded. Although he was only at Step 1 of the Eternal Realm, what he did best was tangle with the opponent. It was not difficult for him to hold a 2-star silver-armored demon god back. "As for the 2 of you, just hurry down at your fastest speed and collect all the water in the baptismal pool. Understand?" Xia Yuan turned to look at An Chao and the last Eternal Realm expert. "Yes." An Chao and the other guy nodded in unison. "All right then, let's get started." Xia Yuan took the lead and zipped ahead of them towards the baptismal pool at an incredible speed, and Chao and the other two Eternal Realm experts were on his heels. A few seconds later, they were visible to the two clansmen from the ancient god clan. A rich aura burst out from Xia Yuan. As he advanced forward, he was also growing in size. In an instant, he turned into a copper-armored ancient god. Invasion! The two clansmen instantly realized what was happening. One was a hairy middle-aged man, carrying a longbow and wrapped in fur. It was Guyang, the same person who had saved Jian Wushuang from Chao 100 years ago. Seeing Xia Yuan and the others charging toward him, Guyang gave a snort and immediately transformed into a silver-armored ancient god. The longbow he usually carried on his back appeared in his hands. His huge hands drew the bow forcefully. A stream of horrible power started to converge in the longbow. The power was so formidable that even in Chao and Kongjing, who were both at step 1 of the Eternal Realm, began to shudder involuntarily. It's him. And Chao's pupils contracted as he recognized Guyang. 100 years ago, Guyang had shot 2 arrows at him. The first one seriously wounded him. When the second one was about to hit him, he had thrown out one of his trump cards and escaped by a fluke. He knew that Guyang's strength was far superior to that of an ordinary 2-star silver-armored ancient god. Go to hell! A snarl sounded. Guyang suddenly loosened his right hand, which had been tensely drawing the bowstring. A pitch-black arrow shot out, streaking across the void like a bright shooting star. The frightening arrow appeared in front of Xia Yuan in the blink of an eye. Xia Yuan had a cold look, a sense of contempt flitted through his eyes. He was holding a giant axe in one hand. He hacked his giant axe lazily forwards and split the air in 2. Clang! With a loud clang, the arrow was smashed to pieces. What? Guyang looked panic-stricken. He shouted, "Hurry up! Send the emergency signal. These outsiders are powerful." The other clansmen standing next to Guyang had already registered the current situation. Without hesitation, he sent out the emergency signal. It would take some time before anyone who picked up the signal could come here. The two did not know whether they could hold it together that long. Humph! Xia Yuan snorted. He strode up to Guyang with his giant axe in hand and swung it at Guyang. Guyang pushed his longbow onto his back, and a long black spear emerged mysteriously in his hand. He threw himself into a fierce fight with Xia Yuan. Gu Xiu's battle strength was more than enough to allow him to deal with an expert at the peak of Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. However, it was still way below Xia Yuan's. Shortly after they began to fight, the outcome was clear. Xia Yuan was totally quashing Guyang. On the other side, Kongjing had also successfully entangled the other clansmen, and Chao and the last Eternal Realm expert had reached the baptismal pool of demon gods. They began to extract the water using their interspatial rings. Bastard! Guyang felt a rush of fury flowing into his heart when he caught sight of Chao and the other guy frantically drying up the pool. His expression turned even darker. He broke free with all his force, drew his longbow once again, and shot another arrow towards Chao. It was a lethal attack, and Chao and the other Eternal Realm expert jumped sideways. The arrow missed its target and failed to cause any injuries. Instead, Guyang's missed attack offered Xia Yuan a good opportunity. "You're dueling with me, but you still have time to care about the baptismal pool. You really don't know death is approaching." Xia Yuan's chilling voice sounded in Guyang's ears. He heard a howling wind. Axe Shadow was already in front of him. Crap! Guyang's expression changed drastically. Even though he was a silver-armored ancient god, He knew he would die if this powerful axe landed on his head. The axe soared towards him so fast that the moment he shot the second arrow, the axe shadow was already before him, leaving him no chance to escape. Am I really going to die? Guiyang was seized by despair. But just at this moment, whoosh, a jet of dazzling sword light suddenly appeared. It was extremely vast and menacing, just like a sword river. It zoomed in front of Guiyang and blocked the giant axe that was roaring toward him. Bang! With a loud clash, the sword river was shattered to pieces. But in this split second, Guiyang retreated to the other side and dodged the deadly strike. What a narrow escape! Guiyang widened his eyes. He felt half surprised, half grateful. He saw a black-robed figure with a wicked silver mask appear next to him. Although he could not see the man's face, based on the one-star aura he was emitting, he quickly realized who it was. "Thank you," Guiyang said curtly. 100 years ago, you saved me. Today, I saved yours, so I've returned your favor, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Yeah. Guiyang nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang had been wandering about in this area for a while, and was not too far away when he heard the emergency signal. He had rushed here only to see Guiyang in great danger. Naturally, he struck without delay. Chapter 759, Jian Wushuang? Chapter 759, Jian Wushuang. How lucky I am. I found in Chao and another 3 boundless demon sect experts. And just as I'm about to leave the Eternal Zone, it even saved me from thinking of how to return Gu Yang's favor. Jian Wushuang smiled. He did not like to owe others. Gu Yang had saved his life, so he wanted to do him a good return. And Chao! Killing intent flashed in his eyes, the only uncovered part of his body, as he cursed the name in secret. In order to kill in Chao, I have to kill Xia Yuan first. Jian Wushuang made up his mind. The bloodline power started surging inside his body. In an instant, he had transformed into a 10-meter-high gold-armored ancient god. His emperor's sword also expanded to 10 meters long. He dove forward. His aura was rising ferociously, higher and higher. A gold-armored demon god. Xia Yuan was startled to see the ancient god. No wonder he could withstand my blow. He is a 1-star gold-armored demon god. However, he is not enough to threaten me. He sneered and charged toward Jian Wushuang, his giant axe in hand. The two neared each other. Mind-controlling secret skill. Jian Wushuang growled and punched at Xia Yuan. He was immediately enveloped by a strange power. Xia Yuan felt his mind struck by a sudden pain. He paused his move. A moment later, he managed to recover from the pain. He regained his senses before Jian Wushuang could destroy him. Jian Wushuang sighed in disappointment. My realm is too low. I can't overpower an expert in Step 3 of the Eternal Realm with mind-controlling secret skill yet. His skill didn't affect Xia Yuan at all except for slowing down him a little. Fine. I never expected that I could defeat him relying on this skill. He displayed his best skill, Netherworld. Xia Yuan struck out with his axe. It then became a battle of pure power. Puff! Xia Yuan coughed out a mouthful of blood, and his axe almost slipped out his hand. He is in Step 4. Xia Yuan's eyes betrayed his horror. He wanted to retreat. However, Jian Wushuang did not let him leave. He came up to Xia Yuan again and launched a series of attacks. Soon, Xia Yuan was overwhelmed by sword shadows. Jian Wushuang went all out. Damn. Those damn moves. Xia Yuan cursed as he hurriedly tried to defend himself. He felt he was going to lose. Some time later, he finally got his golden chance to escape. He quickly displayed a secret skill. However, He had only made it 100 meters when he heard a whooshing sound from one side. He turned his head only to see a black arrow flying toward him at an amazing speed. If he kept running forward, it would hit him. He had to stop. The arrow flew past him, but before he could let out a sigh of relief, Jian Wushuang had caught up with him from behind and displayed twilight. No! Xia Yuan let out a roar of despair before Jian Wushuang's sword went through his body, breaking his life core. After killing Xia Yuan, Jian Wushuang looked toward Guiyang and gave him a thumbs up. The latter put down his long bow and looked back with a nod. The arrow had contributed to Xia Yuan's death to some extent. It was true that Jian Wushuang was more powerful than Xia Yuan. However, Xia Yuan was faster than him. If it were not for the arrow blocking him temporarily, Jian Wushuang could not have caught up with him and killed him. The other 3 boundless demon sect experts were panic-stricken by Xia Yuan's death. Run! Run as fast as you can. They started running in different directions. And Chao had kept a close eye on the battle between Jian Wushuang and Xia Yuan. Thus, he was the first one to sense the danger and react. He assumed the ancient god would chase after the other 2 experts because it would be easier than catching him. However, to his surprise, he saw the ancient god coming after him. Among the 4 boundless demon sect experts, and Chao is first place on my kill list. Jian Wushuang's killing intent was booming. He had to kill this murderer to avenge Gu Qiong. Swish, swish, both Jian Wushuang and Chao ran very fast, and soon they were lost from sight. How could he be so fast? Looking back at Jian Wushuang, who was drawing nearer and nearer, and Chao turned pale. Why did he only target me? Though he was puzzled, he pulled his attention back to his feet. He displayed all his skills to speed up and became visibly faster. Jian Wushuang found he was further and further behind despite running at his full speed. He was becoming anxious. He knew if he did not display a secret skill to become quicker, he would lose his target. This guy responded so fast. He took off the moment. He saw me kill Xia Yuan, leaving me no chance to display the mind-controlling secret skill. Jian Wushuang thought with a frown. The skill was powerful, but it could only produce a magical effect on its target within a certain distance. And Chao had escaped far from Jian Wushuang right away. He could not attack him with it. It seems that I have to use another skill. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He began shrinking back into a normal human being. With his will, his spiritual power began burning inside him. He was displaying the dragon blood secret skill. It was a skill that could increase one's speed by consuming his spiritual power. The cost of using such a skill was so great that Jian Wushuang would use it only in an emergency. 100 years ago, when he was being pursued by Chao, he had used this skill and managed to escape into the inner layer, where he was finally saved by Guiyang. Now, the tables had turned. He was pursuing Chao. "You can't escape from me," Jian Wushuang shouted. His voice echoed throughout the place. With the dragon blood secret skill, he could run 10 times faster than before, faster than Chao. It appeared he would catch up with Chao soon. Oh no, this can't be real. And Chao was struck by horror as he sensed Jian Wushuang's aura near him. He could not help looking back and was shocked to see Jian Wushuang in human form. He stared at the man running after him with wide eyes. Even though the man had his face covered behind a mask, he was very familiar with this man. He recognized his secret skill, the long sword on his back, and even the way he moved. They were exactly the same as the man he'd met 100 years ago. The only difference was that, now, he was the one being hunted. "It's you. It should be you." And Chao murmured, If Jian Wushuang hadn't transformed into a gold-armored ancient god before, and Chao would have recognized him much earlier. Jian Wushuang. I know you're Jian Wushuang. And Chao shouted back at the man, running after him. There was horror and disbelief in his voice, and his words echoed throughout the void for a long time. Jian Wushuang heard him and smirked. So, you finally recognized me. You have to die all the same. Jian Wushuang sped up again. Neither one noticed that there was a gray-haired elder hidden in the forest they'd just passed. He was waiting there for his injuries to recover. However, the elder had spotted them and was amazed. Is that Jian Wushuang, the peerless genius of the ancient sect? Didn't he die 100 years ago? Chapter 760, The Ancient God Token. Chapter 760, The Ancient God Token. In the Tianqi Mountains, there were two figures running forward one after the other. It was Jian Wushuang and In Chao. Jian Wushuang was only 100 meters from In Chao. At this distance, it would be less difficult for him to deal with In Chao. Secret skill, mind-controlling secret skill. He displayed the skill, and Chao immediately felt as if there was a sharp stinger stabbing him inside his head. Aya! He let out a scream of pain and stopped running involuntarily. Jian Wushuang closed the distance between them in an instant. Die! He shouted and struck, and Chao was still in confusion from the pain. He was hit before he could even struggle. His head was chopped off, and his life core was destroyed as well. He was killed on the spot. Finally, the criminal who had caused Jian Wushuang to be trapped in the eternal zone for 100 years was dead. Jian Wushuang stopped fighting and stood in the void, silently. He looked down at In Chao's body coldly. Brother Guqiong, I finally killed In Chao for you. Jian Wushuang clenched his hand, but in his heart he was relaxed. He had been living with his hatred for In Chao and his guilt for Gu Qiong's death all those years. He could finally live in peace. He smashed In Chao's body into pieces. He looked around. After finding there was no one around, he left. However, not long after he left, a figure appeared where he had been standing. It was Mingyi, a gray-haired elder from the Nine Heavens sect. And Chao, the expert from the Boundless Demon sect, was killed. The elder could not believe it, and the one who killed him was Jian Wushuang, the peerless genius of the ancient sect and Xian Yi's disciple. I can't believe he is even still alive. More than that, he has grown so powerful, and Chao was an ordinary expert for his level, yet he was in the eternal realm. How could he be killed without struggle? Mingye's eyes were open wide. The image of Jian Wushuang killing and Chao kept flashing in his mind. He had hidden nearby when it happened and witnessed the entire thing. He could even recall the desperate scream and Chao let out right before he died. 100 years ago, when the news that Jian Wushuang was trapped in the Eternal Zone spread, Xian Yi was extremely angry about it. It was only after killing 7 of the Cloud Sea Asgard's Eternal Realm experts, and the other 2 magnates giving him 10 million divine gems as compensation, that he finally stopped pursuing the matter. At that time, we all thought Jian Wushuang dead. No one dared to enrage Xian Yi again. All the sects gave him their gems, no matter how unwilling they were. Now, it turns out Jian Wushuang is still alive. If the 3 magnates find out, there's no way they'll let it go, especially the Cloud Sea Asgard. It seems there will be plenty of fun waiting for us once we get out of the Eternal Zone. With this in mind, Mingyi left. After killing and Chao, Jian Wushuang went back to the baptismal pools. Guiyang and others who had received the signal asking for help were waiting there. Master, they saluted Jian Wushuang. Guyang, where are the other 2 men? Jian Wushuang asked. When the 3 boundless demon sect experts had started to flee, he had chosen to chase after An Chao. The other 2 experts had been left to Guyang and the other clansmen. Those outsiders can move so fast, and they're good at defending. I shot one of them down and killed him, but the other one escaped, Guyang answered. You killed one of them? Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. What Guyang said about the outsiders was true. They were indeed good at defending, and it was hard to kill them. Because he had the mind-controlling secret skill, Jian Wushuang could have killed some of the outsiders, but most of the ancient god clansmen were not fast. Few of them had managed to kill an outsider. Given that, it was good of Guyang to kill one. The one you killed, show me his interspatial ring, Jian Wushuang ordered. Here you are. Guyang handed it to him. Jian Wushuang searched carefully inside the ring. He found a detailed map of the Tianqi Mountains, and his look brightened. Haha, how lucky we are. He laughed happily. He found what he had failed to find in Xia Yuan's and in Chao's interspatial rings before. On the map, he saw a few places had been carefully marked and assumed they were the boundless demon sect's assembly sites. The map was similar to the one he had gotten from Wu Dao. Obviously, its owner had taken it with him. For the same reason, it was his first time in the Tianqi Mountains. I already know the assembly sites of the Cloud Sea, Asgard, and Boundless Demon Sect. And now, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He took a token out from the ring and gave it back to Guyang. Since Guyang had killed the outsider all by himself, Jian Wushuang would not take the ring. Guyang, this is an ancient god token. Jian Wushuang handed him a token. Use it to send a message to gather all the clansmen here. I have some orders to give. Yes, master. Guyang nodded heavily and immediately sent out the message. Chapter 761, Assembly Sites. Chapter 761, Assembly Sites. Among those who were still adventuring in the Tianqi Mountains, only 2 of them held ancient god tokens. Those 2 were Jian Wushuang and Gu Heng. By using the token, they could quickly gather together the nearby clansmen. It was normally only used in an emergency, and at this time, Jian Wushuang used it. Immediately, many clansmen raced toward Jian Wushuang at maximum speed. In less than half a day, about 150 people were gathered in front of him, ready to receive his orders. Even Gu Heng arrived there, having left as soon as he got the signal sent out by the token. Gu Heng went up to Jian Wushuang and said, Jian Wushuang, I thought you were in danger when I received your signal. I really got a shock. On hearing these words, Jian Wushuang gave him a smile. Tell me, what's going on here? Gu Heng asked. He thought that there had to be a reason for this. I've killed some outsiders during the last several days and got a map from their interspatial rings. I think some of the places marked on it should be their temporary assembly sites. Jian Wushuang explained it to them. Oh, their assembly sites. Gu Heng's eyes lit up when hearing this news, and he hurriedly continued. I knew that they have some assembly sites on this mountain, but I failed to discover them. One reason is that the mountain is so vast that there are many places that can be where their sites are located. The other reason is that those outsiders are so cunning that they will frequently change their assembly sites. That brought us a lot of trouble, because most of the outsiders memorize the locations of the sites in their mind. I think this map must belong to those who have never been here before and are unfamiliar with the topography. Therefore, they are usually more careful than other outsiders, so it will not be easy to kill them. Besides, most of our clansmen don't know what to do with the map. Only we commanders know its value. Throughout the many long years that we've been fighting the outsiders, only one time did we get a map from them. At that time, we found their assembly sites according to the map, set an ambush, and struck them hard. Therefore, Jian Wushuang, if we can find their assembly sites this time, we can set another ambush and strike them like before. After saying those words, Gu Heng looked at Jian Wushuang with sparkling eyes. Great. That's what I'm considering now, and it's the reason why I've gathered all of you here, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Then, with a flick of his hand, he took out the map, which had been combined from 2 maps into 1. On the combined map, there were 13 places marked in total. 7 of them were the assembly sites of Cloud Sea Asgard. The rest of them were the assembly sites of the Boundless Demon Sect. There are so many places marked on it, Gu Heng cried out excitedly while scanning the map. If those marks really represent their assembly sites, certainly they do. Jian Wushuang smiled. Based on his knowledge of Cloud Sea Asgard and the Boundless Demon Sect, he could tell that the assembly sites were really there. Normally, there will be 2 or 3 outsiders gathered at each assembly site. So, to prevent them from fleeing from us, we will go to those locations in groups that consist of 1 silver-armored ancient god as the leader along with 10 clansmen. And when we get there, we must hide our aura until the outsiders are all there. Then, we will kill them directly. Good idea, but I think 12 groups are enough, so we can have more members in each group. As for their last assembly site, I'll deal with it by myself, Gu Heng said with a grin. By yourself? Jian Wushuang was a little surprised, but he still nodded his approval. He knew that Gu Heng was powerful enough to destroy a group of Eternal Realm experts. At that moment, he even mourned for the people in the assembly site that Gu Heng was going to visit. Having arrived at a plan, Jian Wushuang started to implement it. Among the 150 clansmen in front of him, some of them were as powerful as Eternal Realm experts at the first level, some of them were as powerful as experts at the second level. And some of them, such as Gu Yang, were even close to the experts at the third level. Jian Wushuang divided those people into 12 teams, with 12 people in each team, and had them head for the 12 assembly sites out of the 13. Gu Heng would go to last assembly site alone. Watching the clansmen march away, Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with killing intent. Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demon Sect, wait for my gift for you. As for Immortal Dynasty, I won't destroy you, but I won't let you go easily either. The Tianqi Mountains was a dangerous place for the experts from the Firmament territory, and when they encountered a stronger group of clansmen from the ancient god clan, they would choose to flee separately. In such cases, they would have to go back to their assembly sites to find their companions later, as they had no other way to connect with each other in the mountains. As a result, those assembly sites meant a lot to them. 5 days had passed since the Eternal Zone had opened. In the middle of a hill, 2 experts from the Boundless Demon Sect were hiding inside a cave. Before long, another expert of the sect arrived in the cave. Since the 3 of them had found each other, they decided to leave the hill to adventure in other places. And right then, a disaster took place. Chapter 762, The Massacre. Chapter 762, The Massacre. You 3. The 3 of them suddenly heard a voice from outside. They immediately looked up. Demon gods. At first, when they caught sight of several demon gods in front of them, they managed to remain calm. After all, it was normal for human experts to encounter demon gods in the Tianqi Mountains. However, when they saw that there were demon gods on both their left and right and even behind them, they began to panic. Oh my gosh! Why are there so many demon gods? With horrified expressions, the 3 scanned the demon gods surrounding them. The 12 demon gods started charging at those 3 from every direction. Shit! We're in trouble. Run. Even 1 life matters. The leader of the 3 shouted. They knew very well that if it was a smaller group that they had encountered, they could probably make it out alive by staying calm and displaying their skills. However, at that moment, they were facing 12 demon gods at the same time. They fell into their enemy's ambush and had no way out, so they knew it was less likely that they would survive this time. Kill them all. Following their leader, an ancient god at the top of level 2, the 12 ancient gods came slashing at those 3. The 3 of them tried their best to fight, but still 2 of them were killed on the spot, while the other one escaped heavily injured. In another remote valley lay one of the assembly sites of Cloud Sea Asgard. 2 experts of the sect were gathered there, and suddenly they spotted a tall figure nearby. "Who's there?" They were alarmed as they looked toward the newcomer. It turned out to be a bald man who wore a bloodthirsty smile on his face. "It seems that I really have bad luck to find only 2 of you here." When they saw that man, those 2 changed their expressions. "A demon god," one of them questioned in a low voice. The bald man was no other than Wushuang himself. Without saying anything further, he dived at the 2 while transforming into a silver-armored ancient god. His aura shot up high, and at the same time, he had a huge saber in his hand. "During the last 5 days in the Tianqi Mountains, I've killed 4 outsiders, and soon I'll kill the 2 of you as well." He quickly moved forward as he spoke. Humph! The 2 experts had sensed Wushuang's formidable aura, but because they were facing just one ancient god, they thought they could kill him in collaboration. But soon after, they found out they were wrong. Wushuang made his move. It seemed to just be a casual strike, but it killed one of the experts and badly wounded the other one. The surviving expert was frightened out of his wits and started running desperately. However, his opponent was a silver-armored ancient god, more talented than many of his companions. What was worse, this opponent had also learned some secret skills, including the mind-controlling secret skill. Therefore, the moment that Wushuang displayed that skill, this poor guy immediately lost all his senses and was killed in a single strike. Massacres like this took place on many peaks of the Tianqi Mountains. The assembly sites of Cloud Sea Asgard and the Boundless Demon sect all suffered sudden attacks from the ancient god clan. The 2 or 3 experts in each of the sites could barely fight against 12 clansmen at a time and could only run away in desperation. Some of them even lost their lives after falling into an ambush, although those experts had mastered excellent skills that offered them little help in fleeing from a well-prepared joint attack. Only a few of them, like Wu Dao, who had a secret skill to create 18 doppelgangers, could make it out alive. No matter how fast they were, it was useless when every path was blocked. The entire Tianqi Mountains fell into a widespread massacre. Many years ago, there was an expert from the ancient god palace who got a map with the assembly sites of their opponents marked on it. During that time, the ancient god clan hit the outsiders hard. However, this time, the battle between the 2 sides was much fiercer. After all, Jian Wushuang's side was trying to battle 2 magnates at the same time. With each magnate having more than 15 experts in the Eternal Zone, Jian Wushuang had over 30 Eternal Realm experts in his rival side, but to the whole ancient god clan, those people were nothing to fear. Having been targeted, most of the experts from Cloud Sea Asgard and the Boundless Demon sect were killed. As time went on, the battle between the clansmen and the outsiders for the baptismal pools went on. Nevertheless, it would come to an end very soon because the Eternal Zone would only remain open for a short 10 days. 9 days passed by in the blink of an eye, and this was the last day that the zone would be open. And on that day, most of the experts of the sects would give up trying to seize the baptismal pools, go back to their assembly sites, and leave the zone together. In the Tianqi Mountains, there was a place named Heavenly Stone Valley. This valley was the last assembly site of the ancient sect. Many palace masters were gathered there. Haha, you guys are so fast. With Palace Master Bayu's arrival, all the 9 eternal realm experts of the sect had arrived. Among them, except for Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Imotao, and Palace Master Ming Xian looking bad due to an encounter with Yun Fan, the others all looked good. Chapter 761, Assembly Sites. Chapter 761, Assembly Sites. Among those who were still adventuring in the Tianqi Mountains, only 2 of them held ancient god tokens. Those 2 were Jian Wushuang and Gu Heng. By using the token, they could quickly gather together the nearby clansmen. It was normally only used in an emergency, and at this time, Jian Wushuang used it. Immediately, many clansmen raced toward Jian Wushuang at maximum speed. In less than half a day, about 150 people were gathered in front of him, ready to receive his orders. Even Gu Heng arrived there, having left as soon as he got the signal sent out by the token. Gu Heng went up to Jian Wushuang and said, "Jian Wushuang, I thought you were in danger when I received your signal. I really got a shock." On hearing these words, Jian Wushuang gave him a smile. "Tell me, what's going on here?" Gu Heng asked. He thought that there had to be a reason for this. "I've killed some outsiders during the last several days and got a map from their interspatial rings. I think some of the places marked on it should be their temporary assembly sites." Jian Wushuang explained it to them. "Oh, their assembly sites." Gu Heng's eyes lit up when hearing this news, and he hurriedly continued, "I knew that they have some assembly sites on this mountain, but I failed to discover them. One reason is that the mountain is so vast that there are many places that can be where their sites are located. The other reason is that those outsiders are so cunning that they will frequently change their assembly sites. That brought us a lot of trouble, because most of the outsiders memorize the locations of the sites in their mind. I think this map must belong to those who have never been here before and are unfamiliar with the topography. Therefore, they are usually more careful than other outsiders, so it will not be easy to kill them. Besides, most of our clansmen don't know what to do with the map. Only we commanders know its value. Throughout the many long years that we've been fighting the outsiders, only one time did we get a map from them. At that time, we found their assembly sites according to the map, set an ambush, and struck them hard. Therefore, Jian Wushuang, if we can find their assembly sites this time, we can set another ambush and strike them like before." After saying those words, Gu Heng looked at Jian Wushuang with sparkling eyes. "Great, that's what I'm considering now, and it's the reason why I've gathered all of you here," Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Then, with a flick of his hand, he took out the map, which had been combined from 2 maps into one. On the combined map, there were 13 places marked in total. 7 of them were the assembly sites of Cloud Sea Asgard. The rest of them were the assembly sites of the Boundless Demon Sect. There are so many places marked on it, Gu Heng cried out excitedly while scanning the map. If those marks really represent their assembly sites, certainly they do. Jian Wushuang smiled. Based on his knowledge of Cloud Sea Asgard and the Boundless Demon Sect, he could tell that the assembly sites were really there. Normally, there will be 2 or 3 outsiders gathered at each assembly site. So, to prevent them from fleeing from us, we will go to those locations in groups that consist of one silver-armored ancient god as the leader along with 10 clansmen. And when we get there, we must hide our aura until the outsiders are all there. Then, we will kill them directly. Good idea, but I think 12 groups are enough, so we can have more members in each group. As for their last assembly site, I'll deal with it by myself, Gu Heng said with a grin. By yourself? Jian Wushuang was a little surprised, but he still nodded his approval. He knew that Gu Heng was powerful enough to destroy a group of Eternal Realm experts. At that moment, he even mourned for the people in the assembly site that Wushuang was going to visit. Having arrived at a plan, Jian Wushuang started to implement it. Among the 150 clansmen in front of him, some of them were as powerful as Eternal Realm experts at the first level, some of them were as powerful as experts at the second level. And some of them, such as Wushuang, were even close to the experts at the third level. Should he just tell them that he actually had the bloodline of the ancient god clan, which was why they treated him like their own people? If he said so, the three magnates and other sects would seize him. After all, as a gold-armored ancient god, who also had imperial bloodline, he had the highest status and rank in the clan. Those three-star ancient god treated him with respect. As long as he was willing, he could easily set up a baptismal pool or get his hands on the essence blood of an ancient god. This was much faster than waiting for the experts of Firmament territory to enter the Tianqi Mountains every 100 years and fight for them. Fine. If you really can't think of other excuses, make do with this. Palace Master Destruction smiled. The Eternal Zone is so big, it's actually possible that you found a place to hide for 100 years without running into any demon god. Besides this, there is one more thing I must tell you. 100 years ago, Palace Master Jian was enraged by the news that you were killed inside the Eternal Zone. He killed 7 Eternal Realm experts of the Cloud Sea Asgard and forced another 2 magnates, on top of numerous sects, to give out their divine gems to take revenge for you. After all, it was about your death during that time. Besides, it was proven that the Cloud Sea Asgard did send their disciples out to kill you. Since Jian was so powerful, the 3 magnates, as well as the other top sects, could only suck it up and do as told. Thus, if they find out that you are still alive, they will not let this 100-year-old matter down easily. Humph. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help but gave a bitter laugh. He never thought that his master would do so many things to take revenge for him. But after all, this whole thing was started by Jian. He is very capable and will have a solution for it. You don't have to worry too much about it. After we get out of Eternal Zone, you can explain the matter to Jian and get him to tidy things up, said Palace Master Destruction. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, but deep down, he could not help being worried. He knew that the others would think there had to be a secret behind him surviving such a long time in Eternal Zone. The 3 magnates and top sects would be desperate to get the secret out of him. The world outside was now a lion's den to him. Desperate times call for desperate measures. No matter what, since I have to leave this place sooner or later, I can't hide from it forever. I can only face it straight on. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, and his gaze flickered. Let's go. After Palace Master Destruction gave his orders, the other masters, as well as Jian Wushuang, gradually stepped into the wormhole in front of them. Finally, Jian Wushuang was leaving this place that he had been staying in for a whole 100 years. He was leaving the ancient god clan. Perhaps he would return someday, but it was for sure that it would be many years later. Chapter 764, Jian Wushuang returns. Chapter 764, Jian Wushuang returns. 10 days had passed, and all the sects started leaving the Eternal Zone one after another. The ancient gods who had been adventuring in the Tianqi Mountains all gathered together, ready to go back to their tribes. Wushuang, the leader of those gods, had a grave expression on his face at this moment. Where is Jian Wushuang? Where is he? He shouted at the clansmen. Before they left, Elder Yi had told him to keep Jian Wushuang safe, as he had a very special position in the clan. At the moment, other than those who were killed by outsiders All those clansmen who went to the Tianqi Mountains were all gathered here. However, there was no trace of Jian Wushuang. Could Jian Wushuang have already died in the hands of the outsiders? Sir, Gu Yang went up to Gu Heng and passed him a token, saying, Jian Wushuang told me to give this token to you not long ago. Token? Gu Heng's face darkened. He took it and started reading the information on it. He left. He went to the human territory. He's going to return in a few thousand years. Gu Heng's eyes were wide opened. Soon later, he began laughing bitterly. Jian Wushuang might have left in an admirable way, but he was going to have a hard time explaining to Elder Yi with just this token. In the dense ancient forest, outside the Eternal Zone, experts and disciples of the sects in the firmament territory were gathering here, in this place above the void, after exiting the wormhole. Within half a day, most of them had arrived. Among those people, the experts of Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demons sect all looked grim. How many people did Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demons sect lose this time thanks to him? I remember that there were a total of 15 experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard entering the Eternal Zone, but now only 7 of them made it out alive. The Boundless Demons sect is no better. It lost half of its people there. TSK, I really want to know what happened to the 2 magnates there. The surrounding experts from the top sects were surprised, although they did show it. Each sect had their own losses in this trip to the Eternal Zone. Among them, the Cloud Sea Asgard and Boundless Demons sect had suffered the greatest losses. Half of their people died inside the Eternal Zone. As for the Immortal Dynasty, its situation was not as miserable, but it still lost 4 experts. 2 of them were killed by Jian Wushuang. Bastard! The demon gods found out about our assembly site on the Tianqi Mountains. The great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard, Yun Fan, wore a grim expression, and his eyes glistened with anger. His sect and the Boundless Demons sect all suffered a great loss. However, they could only admit that they had bad luck. It never occurred to them to blame others, much less Jian Wushuang. Just then, a blinding light shone from the wormhole, following which a group of people came out one after another. Are they from the ancient sect? I wonder if they lost anyone inside. The waiting experts immediately turned towards the men from the ancient sect. When they saw that all 9 palace masters of the sect survived, they were surprised, although they did not show it. Obviously, the ancient sect did not suffer any loss in the Eternal Zone. Soon, the experts noticed the black-robed youth standing beside Palace Master Destruction. He was carrying a long sword. Judging from the youth's aura, they could tell that he was just a Divine Realm expert. A Divine Realm expert? Who is this guy? He is. Everyone's eyes were fixated on the youth. The experts from the 3 magnates, as well as their disciples, all stared at the youth. Their gaze turned from confusion to suspicion, and then to shock. Finally, they were all horror-struck. Jian Wushuang. Someone blurted out in shock. Instantly, this fact registered in everyone's brain like a thunderbolt being struck across a cloudless sky. It's him, Jian Wushuang. He is the one who shook the whole firmament territory 100 years ago and was taken in by Xian Yi as his own personal disciple. Isn't he supposed to be dead? How is this possible? How is he possibly not dead? This is impossible. Everyone was stunned. Even those experienced Eternal Realm experts could not believe their eyes when they saw Jian Wushuang standing in front of them again. Jian Wushuang, who was supposed to have died 100 years ago, was now appearing in front of them in one piece. Jian Wushuang, he isn't dead. The experts from the 3 magnates were dumbfounded. The only one who was not surprised at Jian Wushuang's appearance was white-haired Mingyi, an elder from the Nine Heavens sect. He had witnessed how Jian Wushuang killed in Chao in the Eternal Zone. Hence, he was naturally not surprised at his appearance. Just when everyone was still in a state of shock, Jian Wushuang looked around and took in a deep breath. A comfortable smile widened on his face. After 100 years, I'm finally out. Jian Wushuang could not help but told himself that in his heart. For him, it was really a long time. The clansmen of the ancient god clan had treated him well. He also had the bloodline of ancient gods. However, he was born in the human territory after all. That was where he was rooted in. All these people, Jian Wushuang glanced at each and every single one of them, not missing any of their expressions. Looks like they're all surprised. Jian Wushuang gave a cold smile. Just ignore them. Let's go. Palace Master Destruction. Palace Master Destruction spoke in a low voice, following which the many palace masters of the ancient sect followed Jian Wushuang back to the sect. However, just as they were about to start off. Wait! The low voice echoed throughout the place, following which a figure came to stand in their way. It was an old man with a youthful face. The moment he appeared, his aura suppressed all the others. Jian Wushuang, where are you hurrying to? The elder asked in a casual manner. However, his sharp eyes targeted Jian Wushuang.